gentlemen, welcome back to The Rock Show with Connor Farrell. Today, our guest is Ravin from The GOAT Show, one of the ultimate hosts of The GOAT Show. Anyways, he's going to tell you a little bit more about that, but real quick, cue intro. Okay, now that we're back from the intro, Ravin, let's go a little rapid fire questions, okay? And then we'll delve deeper.
All right, I'm ready, man. I'm excited. This is great.
What's one of those, first bands you remember really getting into when you're like, I like music?
Okay, first band really getting into, like it was my life. I loved them the most. I gotta say U2. That was my first, and for all y'all who don't like U2 out there and you're talking shit, all right? I get it. I understand. I'm just saying, when you were a teenager in the early 90s, which I am, I'm a boomer, all right? U2 was hot stuff. Octane Baby just came out. I was into them deep. And they were my first band that I was like in my soul passionate about. Like, I would fight you. Like, at that time, if you were talking shit on my boys, you saying the Edge is bald, you saying Bono is whatever, I would have fought you. Not anymore. I've kind of moved on a little bit because of recent things that they've kind of done. But at that time, so that was my first band that I can say in my heart and soul, I was like, die hard,
They sold out is what you're saying. They sold out. They used to be a man of the people, and they knew that the earth was flat. But then they said, let's go to the sphere. And that really, these
I don't know about the flat part, but look, they were a little bit more, they're a little more Trump back in the day.
Oh, okay.
A little bit more moderate Dem back in the day.
Oh, okay.
And they kind of went off the deep end with everybody else. So there you go.
Yeah.
Once I start playing with that Soros money, then
you start playing in it, you start swimming it like Scrooge McDuck. You get comfy, you're having a nice time. I'd like to
around about 2000 when Bono started playing with that Soros money, hanging out with George GW, all that kind of stuff. Started then.
You said there's weapons of mass destruction. You got to go get them.
How does Dismantle Atomic Bomb, which just came out? I think they just did a remaster. So there you go. What are you gonna do?
A peace, one love, one life. Okay, so what's your favorite U2 song? What's one that would convert someone?
Okay, I'll tell you exactly. I don't know if it'll convert somebody, but the one that converted me was Mysterious Ways. Mysterious Ways. And to this day, I still think Mysterious Ways, objectively, if you take away all the trappings and all of the, Apple song you didn't want drops and all this shit around U2 that people hate, if you take it all away and you just listen to that song, I still think not only do I think it's a great song, it's in my top 10 songs. And not only do I think it's in my top 10 songs, I think it's probably the greatest pop song ever written. I'll go that far. I said it. I'll go that far. It's the greatest pop song ever written. And I can give you I could literally, if you want, I can give you a whole thesis on why that is at the collegiate level. But yes, so if you've never heard U2 before, and if you don't have any biases, put on Mysterious Ways. I dare you to tell me that song is not, at least it's a great song. And I'll stand by it, man. I will. So there you go.
Greatest pop song ever written.
In my opinion.
That's.
I can explain it. Do you want me to explain it? Why I think? Do we got time?
I think you should explain it.
Should I explain it? All right. So
anyway, so we should move on from. No. Okay, no. Let me hit you with the next question, and then I want to come back. The next question is, so first band you got into, U2. What's a band that you're like, what's the latest band you're like, I'm really digging it? Like, preferably, I'm falling in love. This is the best thing ever, right? What's something that, like, you are just like, I'm going to leave my wife and kids. It's so hot. I need to leave my wife and kids for this.
Oh, my God.
And I need to have an illegitimate son.
Can I be a polygamist? Can I have multiple mistresses that I leave my wife for?
You can. Let's start with the first of your many, many wives.
Okay. So just off the top of my head, if I'm not looking into my Spotify, because I'm sure there's a bunch of other bands that I really love, but I'll say the two off my top of my head that I love the most that are happening right now. The first one is a band called Teenage Wrist. Teenage Wrist. I don't know if you've heard them, Connor, but Teenage Wrist, if you like, and this is a theme with me, I like to tell people that I like music that is either from the 90s, inspired the 90s, or was inspired by the 90s. That's my musical taste. Okay. And that can include everything from like, grunge to British rock to fucking metal to industrial to EDM to, hip hop, whatever. That's my, I'm a boomer. I grew up in the 90s. That's my taste. And so if it's related to that, I'll probably like it. So Teenage Wrist is like shoegaze, heavy drums, big rock anthem type shit, big singing. You know what I'm saying? I would say if you love Smashing Pumpkins, if you love Silverchair, if you love who else? That kind of big sort of 90s rock with that shoegaze element, that's Teenage Wrist. I highly recommend it. And if you have to pick one song from them for me to get the point across, it's called Sparkle/Fade. Sparkle/Fade. That is the song. I heard that song. I was like, these guys are something special. So that's my first mistress on the side, my side piece when it comes to who I'd leave my wife for. The second band off the top of my head that I really love is a band called King Buffalo. King Buffalo. If you like big stonery sounding epic desert rock type rock and roll, you will love King Buffalo. And if I had to recommend one song, it would be the song. It's called Habitation. Hebe. Oh no! I wouldn't recommend that. No, I got a better. I would recommend. Here, I'm just looking on my phone here. I would recommend. Let's see, King. I don't want to get too carried away here with looking stuff up, but I would recommend the song because it rocks so fucking hard. Man, Grifter. Because we grifting out here, boy. We out here grifting. That's for sure. So the song Grifter by King Buffalo. If you listen to that song and you're not feeling it, then King Buffalo isn't for you. What do I got to say? Those are the two messages off the top of my head. But I will say this, Connor, there's a lot of great new, and I mean rock music. Well, we'll keep going with what you're asking for, but I feel like there's a lot of music that doesn't really rock, and they call it rock music. And it ain't rocking enough. It ain't rocking hard. It's too, it's bullshit. All right. So if you like the rock, these are the two bands that I think, their catalogs, you can listen to their whole catalogs, eat that shit up in a week on Spotify, and you'll be rocked out thoroughly. So there you go.
Good. Well, I want to almost look back in this dresser here. You might be wondering, there's a TV and there's a dresser underneath. I think there might be a King Buffalo t-shirt in that dresser.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I didn't see him. My brother did, though.
Oh, shit.
My brother and my parents, they saw them.
Really?
And,
wow.
Yeah. I have listened to them.
Yeah.
I've listened to none of it.
Really?
I'm a bad person. Yes.
Brother, you got to tell your brother. Brother. And then tell the brothers. All the brothers.
Yeah. Let's get back to what you were just saying there. You said rock things that they call rock and rock.
It ain't rock.
What's your read on this? What's your read on the terrain?
Man.
What the hell? I'm going to start. What the hell is going on? What the hell is it?
All right, here's my
Look, I go on Spotify, I go on YouTube, I click the rock playlist, I dig deep, I go through everything. There's no rock. Where's the rock? I don't see it. Is it Dwayne the Johnson Rock Johnson? I don't see him either. Where's the rock? See, my face is getting red. This is because I'm sexy. Now, where is it? What is happening? I am trying to figure this out. You are older, and hopefully you've got you. Here's the thing: even if he's not wiser, guys, let's get be real. Even if he's not wiser, he's at least seen more stuff than I've seen and that you've seen individually. So together, if we put our big, beautiful, beautiful pink brains and we mush it into a pile of brain soup, we can have, exponential brain. And so with this exponential brain, Ravin, what is going on?
Man, there's so many things. Let me turn this on focus because I don't want people disturbing us when we're fucking talking about this. Can I swear in the show? Am I allowed to? Is that something I can do?
Go for it. It's warranted.
Not that I have to. I'm just saying, if I let one slip out, I don't want to be, reprimanded.
All good. You'll be castrated immediately, but that's separate.
Oh, that's not good. Oh. I don't want to be castrated. Here's what I think. And everybody out there, maybe there's an expert out there, a rock expert that can correct me and say I'm wrong. But I think Tom Morello kind of said it. And what he said was, back in the day, you had these guys, they were rock stars. That's what they called them. And unfortunately, they were talented individuals. They could play the guitar. They could sing their hearts out. But, when you're, they could, like they could do the thing on the drums and the ba-doop on the bass. And occasionally all these people got together and they made, music that just blew your mind, and they were talented. And a lot of these guys didn't quite come from the best homes. A lot of these guys, they spent a lot of time playing an instrument because maybe their home life wasn't the best thing. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, there was nothing to do. I don't think people realize, there wasn't this thing. This didn't exist. So you had, if you were lucky, you grew up in the 80s, you had MTV. But, really, if you were living in Nowheresville, America, you had nothing to do all day long. So guess what? They would sit there, they get their instrument, and they play nonstop. They get really good at it. They play with some people in their local town. Then they go, you know what? All these people in my local town aren't that good. I'm going to move out to L.A., I'm going to move to New York. And back in those days, you could actually live in LA. You could actually live in Manhattan or whatever city and actually meet other people because everybody was in the suburbs. They weren't in the city. It wasn't cool to be in the city back then. And one, you could play with a lot of talented people. But two, you get a little wild. You can get a little crazy. You can get a little down on the street, as Iggy Pop might have said, as the Stooges might have said. And, and they were talented and they wrote great songs, but also they were kind of a handful. They're a little bit of a basket case, if you know what I mean. So you had a lot of rock stars burn out or unfortunately you had people die from, all kinds of crazy shit, And guess what? If you're a record company and you're trying to make that money and you just graduated from Harvard and now you're trying to, make that money at a record label where you got all these Hellcats, running amok, and you're going to have to go give them a per diem so they can go get whatever drug of their choice or, you're going to have to provide the ladies or whatever, you know what I'm saying? It's a handful. It's a little too much. And it's not an easy way to make money. So you might have to, sign 10 bands. And then hopefully one of those bands kind of makes it through the hellscape and becomes writes something like fucking Freebird or some shit. You know what I'm saying? Making that money. Writing, Stairway to Heaven. Maybe they're writing, Welcome to the Jungle. Okay. Now, and it becomes a huge hit or whatever. Anyway, I digress. So what Tom Morello said is he said, back in the day, that's what it was. And the record companies accepted it. And they knew that I'm going to sign 10 bands and one band's going to make it. So what's more appealing to a record company? Is it signing 10 bands and hoping that one makes it through? Or is it more appealing to go, hey, we got these things we call boy bands. Got this guy, Ron Perlman, out here. And he's got these guys whipped into shape. All right? They're dancing. They're looking good. They're not, if they are taking drugs, they're keeping it on the DL. They're disciplined. They tour nonstop. They do what they're told. All right? We can work with these guys. We should promote these guys. And guess what? The ladies love them. Ladies love them. All right? These preteen, teeny boppers going crazy for it. You know what I'm saying? So which one are you going to pick? Which one are you going to want to sign? You're going to want to get these, who cares about having an edge? Who cares about having an attitude? Who cares about being a bad boy, on the street? I want to get these, these instincts and these, whatever. And then on the flip side of that, I want to get these Christina Aguileras. I want to get these T Swifts, T Swift ain't out, being crazy on the street. You know what I'm saying? She's got a good home family life. She's got good parents. So I'd rather get them on board, because guess what? It's going to be more reliable to get her to do what we want and make the money. Here's the other thing. These rock stars, man, the ego. You ain't going to tell me what to write. You ain't going to tell me what trend to follow. You ain't going to tell me, what, I'm not going to get somebody else to write the song. I'm not going to get somebody to da-da-da. I don't care if hip hop's the new cool thing. I don't care about I don't care about the new sound, right? Whereas, you get Taylor Swift or you get somebody else, she'll do a Shake It Off. And we can get Max Martin and all these other dudes, these Swedish guys who've like created a science of songwriting, and we can get them to come in. We can get them to write all the songs, And Taylor Swift, to her credit, she's maintained. But hey, listen, if one of these songstresses, if they fade out, it doesn't matter, because guess what? The real money's in the songwriters and the hit makers that we already got, and those guys they're sitting in a studio somewhere doing their thing and then counting their their bags of cash, right? As long as those guys stay, on the level, we're good. So guess what? If you're a big company, if you're a corporation, if you got stockholders to please, who are you going to go with? Who are you going to pick to be the artist on your label? So it makes total sense to me. I think that's why rock hasn't been pushed. I think that's why rock is, when you do see some rock and roll pushed, quote unquote rock and roll. And again, listen, I don't mean to diss these guys, but I like Coldplay. All right. I do. Those first couple of records are good. I like Coldplay. Don't hate me. I like U2. I like, but Coldplay been working with Max Martin in the last couple of records. You know what I'm saying? Like, they see the writing on the wall. They know what's going on. They know that if they don't play ball, then Coldplay is not going to get pushed. Right. So that's kind of how I see with rock. That's why I think it's quote unquote died in the culture. I don't think it's because people don't like rock and roll, and I don't think it's because rap is, and some people may say, well, rap's wild. Not really. Rappers, no business. Rappers, and here's the thing with rappers. Like, you can take someone like Snoop Dogg. Look at Snoop. He is a brand beyond anything he's ever recorded. He's now just Snoop as a brand. He could go fucking, didn't he just do a drink? He did some alcoholic drink with Dre just recently, right? He's a brand. Snoop isn't an idiot, man. He knows, like, I can smoke all that weed and I can act a little crazy, but when the push comes to shove, he's a businessman. He's gonna reel it on in, and he's gonna do what he's got to do to make the money and all that kind of shit. And rappers are that way. There's some wild boys, but usually they die out. And here's the thing: anybody who dies out, they become even more profitable to the record company, unfortunately. So if you want to get conspiracy territory, I mean, some of the wildest rappers out there, somehow, you could say maybe they bring it on themselves, but they disappear. They get clipped. And guess what? Now their music is forever something that they can sell, and they brand it and do all those things. So, to me, I think the real truth is that rock and roll is wild. It's still rebellious. Fuck you, Gen Z. Rock and roll is the most rebellious genre. It is the most free genre. It is the most anti-authoritarian, although it's been co-opted by a lot of, we won't go political, but it's been co-opted by a lot of bullshit. But I'm just saying, that's why I think rock is not pushed. That's why I think rock is not as popular, because at the end of the day, the people with the money, rock is much more of a hassle, much more trouble to cultivate than pop or rap or even, country. People want to say country is new rock and roll. Unless you're Sturgill Simpson, I'm sorry, man. Country ain't the new rock and roll. Country's controlled that way too. They got songwriters, they got faces. It's the same shit as pop and all this other bullshit in terms of mainstream country, right? You get a Zach Bryan in there, and already he's causing trouble. They're already regretting this guy with all this, chicken fry stuff or whatever. You know what I'm talking about? Beyond chicken fry controversy and all that. So anyway, that's okay. I know I'm lecturing, but that's why I think rock and roll, real rock and roll, where you got egos and you got wild boys and girls and you got crazy shit. That's why it's not pushed as much. That's why I don't think you're seeing as much, but it does exist and it's dope. There you go, man. That's my theory.
rock, last I checked, 48% of Americans' favorite genre.
Really?
Number one. Rock is there. There is a huge, and the rock, like, people, I have family members and people who all they do is they like work these menial jobs. They just make enough money so that they can then go and spend all of it on rock merchandise. And then they just literally, they've got, I want my poster of Ghosts, and I have my Kiss lunchbox, and I get my Foo Fighters, my Green Day, I get my, my Tool poster, whatever it is, right?
Right.
And you got to have the Misfits logo. You got to have the Misfits logo. You got to. I had something to say. I killed my baby today. It ain't about much to me. Anyways, it's there. So if you can do this, and here's the thing, in the 80s, I think you had a microcosm of what you're saying, but they realized we can take rock and we can still do, if we want the controlled thing. Right. That's what they thought the hair metal bands were, right? Right. It's just Taylor Swift, but they threw in, and it's a boy band, except it's a distorted guitar instead of a clean guitar, and he's screaming, and the song is like fun, and they're all vapid too. Here I am, rock you like a hurricane.
Although I love. I mean, I'm not going to speak ill of Scorpions, but I do love that song.
But my whole point is, a lot of the 80s stuff and like 70s stuff is just innuendos to say, I want to rock you tonight. Ooh, right. I want to rock and roll all night. Like,
rock and roll, the whole term rock and roll is, rocking and rolling.
Yeah, but that's the whole thing. Is like, you could say it was equally vapid, but back then in the 80s, what they do is be like, okay, let's take all these good songwriters, let's throw the rock guys in, right, and have a rock band. And so that's where my brain goes. If I'm the cynical record label and I'm willing to kill my rappers, you heard it here first. They kill the rappers. Biggie Tupac, it was all Diddy with the baby oil. Anyways,
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of who knows behind the scenes what's really going on. I mean,
oil up, Ravin. That's all I can say. One word, oil up. Okay, compound. It's a hyphenated. Oil up, hyphenated.
Damn.
One word. Okay, no. So why wouldn't these cynical Diddy types, like if you were just after power and money and you hated people, let's say you're a lizard person, as the most conspiratorial minded, or at least the most fun conspiratorial minded. I think it's the funnest one. I don't think it's probably true. You know what? I haven't done enough research on the lizard people thing, really, but it just sounds like it's probably wrong.
I mean, there's certainly, I don't know about actual lizard people, although, I'm not, I mean, who knows, but
there are sociopaths. That's a fact.
Sociopaths, cold-blooded individuals, dark triad. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are people who are just self-serving. And I honestly think morality evolved out of, it's just an evolutionary thing that occurred. Basically, if you wanted to prosper in society and move forward, you would, it's like if I kill someone and take their stuff, well, then everyone else takes my stuff and kills me, or they ostracize me and now I die and I have less resources and less material wealth and less stuff I can do. I have a worse quality of life. So it's just being selfish. It's just being self-interested that develops morality evolutionarily, because you need to coordinate with other things in a system. And so I think sociopathy and killing people is actually short-sighted. Now that you have something like X, where it's like the instant you do something messed up, the whole world sees it, you're exposed, it's a PR nightmare. So if you're looking at a long enough time horizon, it's completely ridiculous to do any of these things. So I think being a sociopath is just having, is just another example of a low time horizon and doing something that's, I would say, stupid in terms of maximizing. If you didn't care about other people, you would help as many other people and be as nice as possible because they give you all the things you want.
Right. Well, I mean, so it's just like, if we're talking, if we're talking, just, one of my favorite things that, you learn if any of y'all ever read Socialism by Ludwig von Mises, the first thing you learn in that book is that peace requires prosperity, or prosperity requires peace. You cannot have prosperity if you don't have peace. If you're constantly warring with each other in tribes, you may get some, you may steal or rob or murder your way to some temporary prosperity. But if you want real prosperity long term, you're going to need to have peace. And the only way you can really get that peace is through mutually beneficial trade. So I don't know if we want to go that direction and we want to talk about that, but I'm just saying.
That's the thing is like, and so those things are self-evident. These things you can just derive through basic logic, and they're observed, and they're what you do see if you're actually, you look at things. It's all arises out of wanting to preserve yourself and spread on your genes and have the best success of your genes living on through other things. It all comes to evolution and mating, and the principle of that is human action, right? And so then if you look at the angle of everything through human action, everything just makes sense, and you can derive it from first principles. And it's what you see when you look at data and you look at things. And so it's just like, and usually if you think starting from that approach, you get to what tends to be the most optimal solution. And oftentimes people will try and like bring up stuff with me if they want to argue. And I don't like arguing politics and stuff just because I'm right. And most people don't like that. And so,
what's funny is, we want to bring it back to this sphere of rock and roll, right?
Yeah.
And people are going to recoil at this, but without capitalism and free markets, and entrepreneurs, you wouldn't have rock and roll. Not just because of the distribution of it or any of that shit. I'm talking the invention of the guitar itself, the electric guitar, is an invention of capitalism. Like that thing does not exist. Maybe somebody might make it in their home or whatever for fun, but it doesn't exist in the way that you can go buy a Fender.
You don't get it. Exactly.
Unless you have a market in which, it's created, it's promoted, and it's presented. And you have a motivation from the individuals who created those instruments to want to not only invent the thing or not to create something new, but also to be able to want to, manufacture in a way that other people can enjoy it. And it's the same thing with all music. All creatives, whatever, like what we're on right now, talking here, the computer I own, if you're a DJ, the kit, the DJ kit, it doesn't matter what music you're into. If it wasn't for fucking capitalism, people, you wouldn't even have that. You'd be violining for the king, all right, in the court, all right, and all that kind of bullshit. Now you can make music on your laptop whenever you want, 24/7, and it's a beautiful thing. So I agree with you, man. Markets and capitalism have made music more readily available to everybody for their enjoyment. So stop buying that shit.
Everyone's whining, and here's another thing: everyone's whining about AI and all these things, and what they don't realize is value. There's logistical value, what I'm going to call it. This is all rough. And there's psychological value, right? So Rory Sutherland is like, I think, the VP at Ogilvy, which is one of the biggest, oldest marketing firms forever. And he's this British guy. And he's jolly, and he's plump, and he's middle-aged, and he talks in a funny way, and he rails against the boomers because like they act like they did all this stuff. And he's like, you've done nothing but run the society into the ground with your short time horizons and pilfer all of your advantages to disadvantage yourself in your old age and everyone else for generations to come. Anyways, I think it's objectively true, but I don't want to stay on the hating boomers because
sure. I do want to say something about AI. I do want to say something about AI and all that kind of stuff because I've had that debate with people, good friends of mine that are creative of all different stripes, from musicians to designers to whatever. And that's sort of my background is in creative fields. To me, I really just look at AI as another tool. There will be a point, and it will come faster than people expect, where there's going to be AGIs, automated AIs that are going to make all kinds of stuff. But I would say that I just look at it as another tool. And I think what happens with human beings is that we get we're very, very quick to identify inauthenticity. So what I mean by that is back in the day when say computer graphics was the first thing, right? A lot of that stuff was used in a way that felt authentic. Like if you watch Terminator 2 and you look at the T-1000, like by today's standards, it's nothing in terms of visual effects. But you watch Terminator 2 and the way it's used, it's cool. Like, and here's the thing: you forget that it even exists. Like, it's so Cameron. Say what you will about the guy or politically or whatever, but he really understands like that. Look, the visual effects are there to support whatever thing you're creating that has an authentic soul to it. That's what matters. And you can tell when I go on, like it used to be when I would go on X or whatever platform and there'd be an AI image, I wouldn't be able to tell. I'd be like, you know, I remember, I forget who it was, but somebody was making like really complex imagery for like every day, and I was like, how's this person drawing this shit every day? But then I realized, oh fuck, it's AI. Okay, now I understand how they're doing it. But now it's getting to a place where like within a very short time window, you can identify if something feels AI or not, right? People say, is this AI? It feels like AI, right? Yeah. And I just think it's interesting how sophisticated I think the human mind really is, that we're able to identify just visually, like we just have a way of identifying these things. And so I think whatever AI is created, I feel like it's that, I forget what that's called, but where you can always cut things in half, but you never really reach that. I feel like that's what AI is. It's always going to be that way with human beings. And at the end of the day, what matters is like, are you creating an authentic expression of something? And that's something that I think also human beings have a really, really acute sense. Like, sure, you might be able to like, there's some amazing, gosh, can I promote some amazing AI accounts? Oh, fuck. Let me see. All right, I'll tell you the one that I love the most. I got to find it. These liminal AI fucking things are incredible. Like they are art, even though they're AI or AI created or whatever.
Hold up. Let me see. It was liminal
department. Let me find this. This thing is so cool. Man.
Well, let me filibuster because I had something to add while you pull that up.
Yes.
Yeah. So with the whole idea of the AI, let's say even if you get to the point where it does become indistinguishable, when you back to this logistical value versus psychological value idea, as we get more and more adept at solving logistical problems, more and more, I think logistical problems is what you're saying, where it gets half and half and half, but you can never really get there.
Right.
There's increasingly disproportionate value and money to be made and profit to be gained by solving psychological problems, because they're the most overlooked and they're the ones that are there, the most frequently. Right. And so it's, it's like it's making something look good or be a fun experience versus the actual ingredients, right? And so the Rory Sutherland guy talked about how, I think it's called the O2, but there's some train in Britain, and they're spending billions of dollars on this train, and it's not going to be quicker than if you take a car or if you take it's physically impossible logistically, and they're spending all this money. And he's like, if you would have just looked at this, instead of bringing in an engineer, you brought in a designer, the first thing they would say is, okay, well, you're going to spend whatever, let's say you've already put $1 billion into it, right, to get the current system. You're going to spend another $2 billion to make it 10% faster. If you just made the train look like Harry Potter,
right? Yeah,
you would make like 8 times the profit, and it would cost you maybe $100,000, maybe $2. And he also did another thing too. It was something with like jet planes, where he's like, if you make the jets marginally faster, it's going to cost whatever, like $15 million. Right. It was like Boeing or something he was talking about. And he was like, you could have for like $5 billion or instead of like $15 billion, for like less than $1 billion, you could have had supermodels on every single plane as the stewardess, giving out champagne and huge amounts of leg room. Yeah. You're like, don't you think that would give you a cutting edge advantage over your competition?
Right.
More than 4 seconds. The docking and landing and the logistics is going to eat that. Your logistical value. So as we get better and better and better and further optimizing logistical value creation and exploiting that and making money off of that, it becomes less useful. And so I think when it comes to the AI stuff, we are just going to have more and more industries and more stuff where we're solving psychological issues, which is what art does. That's all art and creative does, is psychological solutions to things. Now, the second thing I would say is when it comes to music and art and things, people go, oh, I can type in a song, I can get the movie I want, and it'll be perfect. Let's say it is perfect and it's indistinguishable. People don't care how good something is.
Right.
People care And there's a baseline of good, but after that, people care about the story. Oh, I'm the first one to listen to it. Oh, did you hear what they wrote? Well, this was their first record. People will listen to the worst record ever, my record, and they'll fall in love with it because even though the mixing is bad on half the songs or the songwriting's a little shoddy and like whatever the things, a lot of technical things that would normally make you not listen to it, or for me, like Black Flag, there's a bunch of Black Flag songs that I loved. You know why? Because I have the story, the narrative of the band, and it's their first record. And so then you keep re-listening and you fall in love. Or sometimes you hear the potential of what a song could be if they just re-recorded it and redid it, and it's right there. Oh, I can't wait till we have AI. You know, like it's the story, it's the art, it's so many people. There's a diversity of people who want to be the hipster, the first one to get into something, and want to be the last one to get into something, and want something mainstream, and want something outside of it. People want alternatives. And so as society and culture gets more and more access to things, we get more and more slices. It used to be if something was famous, everyone knew it, right? There was like 3 things, and one of them 90% of people knew, and like 5% and 5%. Now, if you're famous, 15% of people know you, and then there's like 5. And so there's this huge distribution of culture. Pop culture, there is no omnipresent culture, or there's very little, right? The closest thing we get to that is AJ and Big Justice and the Rizzler. And like, you know what I mean? And Hawk Tui. Like, that's the closest you're going to get Jake Paul, Mike Tyson. And even then, there's probably 70% of American society didn't watch the Jake Paul, Mike Tyson fight. If this was in the 80s, it would have been 97% had seen it. Now it's only probably 30% have seen it. And that's just in America, right? So I think as AI gets better and better and better, it's easier and there's more money to be made in being an artist. It's just the upfront time it takes, and getting in front of people is getting trickier. I think eventually it'll be figured out to a certain extent, but just right now it's right, like here doing this, we're going to brute force it. We're going to get cut through the noise, boom, boom, boom. Because we're just, it's time under the curve, right? When it comes to just, we put in the reps, you put it out. Like right now, I'm going to be posting this too. This is going to be on Spotify. This is going to be on X. This is going to be on Instagram. This is going to be on, not Blue Sky. YouTube.
Put on Blue Sky. Why not? Why not?
Hey, maybe. Facebook just takes a while to upload like a friggin' hour-long video everywhere, right? Last couple I did ended up being like 3 hours. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have fun uploading that like 18 gigabyte.
Well, I want to go back to what you were saying.
Go back.
What I'm realizing now is I think that if a society becomes soulless, then what becomes a premium is the soul. So like for AI, like there's going to be like it's going to get to a place, people think it's crazy, but it's going to get to a place where you can go on Netflix, and rather than bringing up a movie that somebody made or whatever and did all this shit with, you can just tell it, hey, I want a movie that does this, or I want a TV show that does this, and AI can make it for you, and it'll be seamless, and you can tell what actors you want in it or whatever, and all these performers will license their faces and all this shit. Okay, but and I'm going to draw a kind of weird parallel here. So for the kids, close your ears. But let's look at OnlyFans. Okay, porn always is the front runner. Okay, you can go on this thing called the internet, and if you want to get your kicks, you can pretty much find any porn that you want, except, I mean, I'll say it. You can find anything you want for free. Any kind of porn you want for free. Yet, why does OnlyFans succeed? Why is it that these performers, who you could probably even find a lot of performers on OnlyFans, you can find their pictures or videos online if you look hard enough, or you get on some, whatever, you can probably get it. But why? Why are men, going and spending, moolah cash on these women? And a lot of them, like this Sophie Rain chick, no offense, Sophie Rain, good looking gal, but I'm just saying from like, traditional standards, she's like, whatever. Like she could be someone that in your neighborhood, right? In fact, that's why she makes, or so supposedly, some people say she's lying, but that's why she makes $4 million a month. And she doesn't even do anything too crazy from what I understand. All right. Like she's just, so why is that? Why, how does that work? Why? It boggles my mind. Porn is free. Anything you want, you could probably find someone who looks like her doing whatever, and it'll be free. Okay. But why do people, men especially, still want to pay the money? Because what they're buying is not the nudity or what you're seeing and all that kind of shit. All right. What you're buying is a relationship, even if it's false, if it's fake, if it's one way. The illusion of a relationship is enough to get a man to spend who knows how much money every month, right? So I think that in a world where AI exists and AI can make you anything you want, the thing that's going to be a premium is the things you can't have on demand. And the kind of art that people are going to want to enjoy. And this is where I bring it all the way back to rock and roll, my friend. This is a rock show. I think rock and roll is going to be real rock and roll, authentic. You go to the venue, people sweating, playing. It's your group. It's your cult even like that. I think you're going to see way more of that happening in the future, and that's what's going to be a premium. And I could be wrong, but I'm predicting that the more you can just go into Suno or Udio, which are great tools for like if you want to make like an ad, you can go in there and like make the music for the ad. That's great. I have no problem with that. But if you want to, if you go in there and you start making that kind of music, I'm not saying you can't succeed making music with those tools. I'm just saying the music you make, you have to convey the authenticity behind that. And I think a lot of that's going to be like, you're on social media, you host shows like this, you show you're a real person, you show your flaws, you show who you really are. And that's really what people are going to buy into more than even your music. As much as the music matters, to me, music still matters. Like the music's got to be good. I don't care who you are. But I will say that like there's a certain element of if I really like somebody and then on top of that, they make dope music, man, it's like, take my money, take it all. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think. And I think rock and roll is really that genre. I think because the EDM, you can dial it up you're going to get people like Diplo in EDM where you're following their life. He's basically he's a travel show. Basically. That's what EDM's Instagram account is. And then people come to the shows because sure, they like his mixes, but really they're there for Diplo. They're there for him as a person. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I think is going to happen more and more. And it's a little challenging for the boomers who like creating rock because, we enjoy the mystique. We enjoy like, you didn't know Pink Floyd was, you didn't know fucking Jane's Addiction was, you didn't know, there are things happening behind closed doors. You didn't know who these people were. All you saw was the freaking album cover with the that's all you saw, what I'm saying? Or the Rolling Stone article, but I don't know. I guess you got to adjust with the times or figure out a more creative way to kind of present yourself so that it's, it creates a mystique that's interesting. So, yeah. We got it, man. We figured this shit out. Oh, two accounts. I recommend one is called Latent Places. So LATENT PLACES. Latent Places is one of my favorite AI accounts. Another one is called Myst, MYST.cult. They're making all kinds of cool, crazy, kooky stuff. And then the final one that I just discovered that I'm obsessed with is it's called Jurassic Smoothie. Jurassic_Smoothie, SMOOTHIE. So there's three. If you're like one of those AI deniers, you're like, oh, AI is, it's all crazy and you're never going to be able to watch something that's like that feels authentic and all that kind of stuff. Check those accounts out. Those accounts are like they're really using the tools in a really creative new way. So there you go.
Yeah, you probably think the Earth is round if you.
Are we gonna go there?
I love the flat.
YouTube's gonna ban this if we go there, man. We did on the Go Show. We did talk to Flat Earth Dave. So
is your Flat Earth Day?
A Flat Earth Dave. I don't know if you've heard of him. Yeah. He's the guy. He's one of the big OGs of Flat Earth. So
I love it. I respect it. There's a lot of grifts on the internet that I just like. I don't enjoy. That's the funny thing is the low IQ or like I guess not. Let me make a diagram for the kindergartners at home who are listening, joking as they listen to this instructional. Let's see. So we're going to do a little distribution. This is something called a percentile. Okay. And as a fellow Sigma maxed men of action, you understand how this works, okay, with a percentile. Okay. So let's see right here. We've got these people. And these people are in the middle.
They're the round earthers, is what you're saying? They believe the world is round. And the two people on the edges believe the world is flat.
No. Whoa there, bucko. You're getting ahead of yourself. There's about 1/6 of the population lies in this part. Less than one standard deviation, or maybe it's 2. I think it's 1. I don't know. Maybe it's 2. I did the math before. I think the average IQ, I did look this up a while ago to make fun of someone, and it worked. But I believe it was this. It was 95s in the middle, and the standard deviation is 15. So you got your 80 tards over here, and your 110 tards over here. And then way over here, you get the 190 IQ Jew himself, Connor O'Farrell. And so anyways, let's go back to where you guys are. So
okay.
If we go back to where you guys are, see, this is where I'm at. This is 1 in 6 people. This is 16%. It's about I'm just making it dumb numbers for people like you. Not you, the listener. Listener, I'm kidding.
I have a feeling listener is smarter
listener,
than
you're very smart. You're also handsome, and you joke. Anyways, the rest of this 2/3. This is 66.
Where are we going with it? What are we talking about?
No, you got the. Just trust me. It's very important.
What are we talking about? Okay.
This is 66% of the population. Look at these people in the middle between 80 and 100 or 110, right?
Okay.
The people under which here, the military won't accept you into the military because there's nothing that you can do task-wise that wouldn't be sufficiently counterproductive that it's just less productivity having you do anything. There's more productivity in you not coming to join the military.
Okay.
We would be at a net loss by having you even enter the facility. Not because of food, not because of water, just because you as a person are so counterproductive. You're such a bumbling buffoon that you're going to destroy all the productivity and value creation that has occurred.
Okay.
You're like toxic. You're literally like a radioactive particle. Get out of here. So that's how stupid these people are.
Okay.
That's how stupid. And then you've got, what is this? 1/3 and 1/3. And now these people, these are your nice people. And they can be nice, but they fall for every grift.
Okay.
They fall for
Do they though?
I think
are they falling for?
I'll just put it this way.
We're talking. What kind of grifts are they falling for?
Well, that's what I was going to say. They fall for
corporate grifts.
I'll just put it this way. They think that, I'll just put it this way. Any of the concepts are trying to talk about like Ludwig von Mises, Murray Rothbard, sure. Hayek, Rand, any of these things, it doesn't gel with them. I'll put it this way. I've got some friends and I really like them, but this is how I think they're fundamentally different, and I think it's because they lie in this middle region, which isn't bad. There's nothing wrong with that. You're normal. You're just not wrong like me. This is objectively wrong, 190 IQ. This isn't good. It's like an 8-foot schlong. It's going to cause way more problems. It's bad. You shouldn't have that. 8-foot schlong is taller than an entire human body. I just want you to know.
That's a lot of meat. You can have problems.
You can see that's genuinely a problem, that you would literally cut most of it off if you could. You might have 8 inches and be like happy with that. You don't want 8 feet. You just wrap it around, and then the weight of it's probably going to give you spine problems, like having a busty, set up front would give you spinal, oh, my back. And so you, with your 8-foot long, manhood, would be wrapping it around your neck. You're doing party tricks with it. But carrying that around all day, the clothes aren't going to fit. How are you going to find clothes for that?
Where are we going with this, Connor? Where are we going, man? Come on now. Reel it in.
Okay, I'll land the ship.
Land the ship.
I have to go off the rails.
Landing. Where are we going with this?
People fall for all this stuff, and they'll listen to whatever music you make. Oh, we're talking about grifting. Let me get back. Let me pull back the the skin on this one.
You want a home diagram
yeah. So these people who fall for these grifts and stuff. So we're talking about grifts, and there's a lot of these like I that's what I want to say, mid IQ level grifts. You can't have a 110 IQ or higher and fall for a lot of the grifts. But still, that's whatever 5/6 of the population. It's whatever, like 84% of people are below.
I'll tell you what though, there's a lot of smart people who fall for cults. There's a lot of people who
I'm not saying if you're in the one,
they're smart.
They fall for different grifts. They fall for different grifts because it's easier to trick. Michael Malice would say a smart dog is easier to trick than a dumb dog or to train, right? And so if you can make something just smart enough for them to think they're right.
Well, I mean, my thought with a lot of this stuff is that there's a different part of your brain that's at work when it comes to grifts. There's like you can measure IQ intelligence, but like that's not really the part of the brain that is because I was thinking about this today because I've fallen for different things for sure, and I consider myself intelligent, but maybe not intelligent enough. But I think that something like I don't know when you have a deficit in self-esteem, because you can be a high IQ person and still have a deficit in self-esteem. I've met people like that. They're too smart for their own good. They or they've been beaten down a lot intellectually, even though they're really smart. They deny their own intellectual curiosities or whatever. Like there's other factors involved, and I think like when it comes to grifts and all that kind of stuff, like loneliness. A lot of high IQ people are fucking lonely. They're smart and their brains are so like going all over the place that it's hard for them to relate to other people. So when they get somebody who comes along and they're able to relate, or they feel like they're able to actually like that person can appeal to their loneliness, or they can whatever. That is a powerful attractor. That's a powerful tool for someone to manipulate them. So I think there are qualities beyond intelligence that seduce people into things that are not in their best interest. And I think that there are certain people like people with dark triad personality traits and stuff that they may not be the smartest, but they have that skill set to be able to convince really smart people to go along with whatever they're doing. So that's kind of how I see that. The IQ thing is always weird to me. I'm not sure I've ever seen real evidence that correlates like IQ with a better standard of living or a better or better like a better satisfaction with life. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people that just go to a 9 to 5 and work construction or whatever, and they come home and they have a nice little family and they just do the routine. Like, I bet they're probably way happier than like the fucking super geniuses who have to constantly deal with their own minds and their own dissatisfaction with how existence and all that kind of stuff. You know what I'm saying? So like the IQ thing, a lot of there's a certain crowd out there that likes to use IQ as a way to race for race realism and all that shit. But that's why I'm a Randian. That's why I'm like, look, all Ayn Rand ever talked about was like, are you happy or not? Yeah, that's all that really matters. Is like, are you really genuinely happy in your life? And as long as you're not using force or fraud against someone else, then fuck it. Like if being garbage man is what you want, then I got no problem with that. Like, I feel like if I have kids, I'm just going to say, hey, like the purpose of your life is to live as much as possible, as well as possible. That's kind of my philosophy. Cause who knows what's that. I mean, there may be an afterlife. I don't know. Nobody can prove it. So it could be, it may not be, but that doesn't matter. It's irrelevant if the mission is to live, cause that's the life you were given. Ultimate choice is live or die. So it's like, if you choose to live, then you got to do it the most you can possibly do it. And that should govern your decisions and how you move through things. And, you can do that if you're a total idiot, and you can do that if you're, a super genius. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how I see it. But
yeah, I think the reason I brought it up is because it's like one of like a bunch of different angles. Like we were saying, like you look at logistical value, psychological value, you look at how happy are you, right?
Emotional
and all these sorts of things. What kind of content?
I would argue that emotional value is really what people look for.
Yeah.
Like, especially in our society now, emotional value. I mean, logical value is like, dude, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
No one cares about reason. No one cares about logic. No one cares about like actual, scientific evidence and all that. It's all emotional, man. I mean, that's what, Ayn Rand railed against that and all that kind of stuff. Like,
But here's the thing though. So this is what I'm getting at is what are we talking about? So we're both in MOA, right?
Yeah.
So what do we look at? We acknowledge we're using logic, we're using reason and logic and rationality to look as rational males. We're looking at everything, we're figuring out what's going on, and we're parsing things through and observing these patterns and figuring out, okay, what variables can we play with and testing things and iterating and ideating and such. And so one of the things we observe is that no one cares about all of these logistical things, which is great, and logical things, and they care about emotional value. But with that understanding, we're able to use all these tools and get this disproportionate advantage by being able to actually use logic and reasons, by being the few who realize, oh, these are tools that we can use.
Right.
You don't need to always be operating in a rational space, right? And that's probably not maximizing your enjoyment.
I look at it like these are all skill sets.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to the logical value stuff, that needs to be taught to people. It's not like, people should, I'm not, just because people don't value it doesn't mean it's not important. Right. And I think that on some level that is important. It needs to be taught to people, sort of how to think rationally, how to be a critical thinker, how to look at evidence and all that kind of stuff and all that kind of stuff. But I think the way you can get someone to look at things in a logical way is that you have to find sort of the incentive. And that incentive might be a rational incentive. It might be, hey, I'm poor. This sucks. I want money.
Yeah.
But it could also be emotional. Hey, I'm single. I'm lonely. I don't want to be single and lonely anymore. Or it can be, I have low self-esteem, and they may not say this to themselves, but I have low self-esteem and I hate myself. I want to stop hating myself, and I want to feel like I want to have higher self-esteem. I want to be a man, or I want to be a gentleman of leisure, traveling the world and hanging out with all the beautiful people, whatever that is, right? Or it can be, I want a family, and I want to, have children and grandchildren, and I want to be, whatever. Like us as human beings, we are emotional beings. We're never gonna. The people who aren't emotional beings are sociopaths, and there are some of them. Like but most of us, vast majority of human beings, are emotional beings. It's just we also are rational thinking beings as well. We were given a brain and a human mind that's capable of doing that. So it's just a matter of, I think it's just a matter of balancing those things. I like to think that emotions are just indicators. They're signals. You say something to me, and I get mad and I want to punch you in the face. But then what you say to me is, hey, you're 30 pounds overweight, and if you don't lose that weight, you're going to freaking, get diabetes and your legs are going to get cut off. Okay. My thinking brain thinks about that. Even if my emotional, reptilian, cortex is like, I want to bonk you over the head with a club. The rational brain thinks about that and goes, you know what? It's hard to hear, but the truth is I need to probably drop some pounds and I need to go hit the gym. And then your brain starts working logically. Okay, how do I do that? Who's got the right advice to help me do that as quickly and as fast as possible? Because guess what? I don't really like working out, and then, so I think it's a balance between the two. The problem in society is like nobody is being taught that, or maybe, I don't know. I think parents are teaching it, but I don't think school systems are teaching like, hey, here's rational thinking. Here's, critical thinking skills. Like this is how you look at evidence. This is how you evaluate things. So anyway, I can go on forever, but hey, if we're bringing it back to rock and roll, this is a rock show. Rock appeals to the soul. That's why I think it's powerful music. I think another reason they subvert rock and roll is because it's powerful. Hip hop can be powerful, I guess, or EDM has, there's a spirit to EDM that I enjoy, but there's something about motherfuckers rocking out and then a lot of them say the dumbest shit, but you can tie that to some real shit that you got to say. And, you want to know a formative band for me? Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine. Definitely. Oh my gosh. Like if I had to say for my political awakening is like Rage Against the Machine, Dead Kennedys, and then U2, I'll include that. That's like I was a teenager at the time. Those were the bands I was listening to. They were my political awakening before, and they're all like, on the left. But that music's so powerful and so fiery that I still listen to Rage Against the Machine, even though I totally disagree. Some of the songs I think I agree with, I'm against, the global empire and all that. But like, when they're talking about some of the more socialist elements of what they believe, I don't agree with it, but it still rocks the fuck out. And I still feel the spirit of rebellion when I hear that shit. And if you look at like recent Rage concerts, like people flip the fuck out, man. They go hard, so that's the emotion. You got to get the emotional in there. You can't deny it, but hopefully you match it with the rational, and then you can make really cool stuff.
Yeah, I think rational is the way you can analyze emotional occurrences, right? But I think emotion is the language in which you actually like transact or transmit ideas, right? So I think that's where Jordan Peterson, where he would be like, it's like Pinocchio, and when bloody Pinocchio is there, he's like Darth Vader. It's Luke, and it's like, what is that? He's going into a swamp on Dagobah. It's like, and it's a mist. But everyone, we all go into the mist, and he sees himself and his father. Well, don't you? And it's like, so.
But with Jordan Peterson, people make fun of him for this, but what's the most effective thing that he does to get people to like pay attention to him? All that crying, bro. Like when he cries and shit, people pay attention. They're like, oh, they feel his pain. He's one of us. He's not an egghead, cold-hearted, blah, blah, blah. He's a human being like I am. And that's I'm not saying he's doing it as a tactic, but I'm just saying like that's the stuff that makes people love him. That makes people
emotion. It's what, right. Emotion is how we communicate. Narrative, story. These are the things, are the psychological stuff.
Yes.
This is the actual language you do business in.
Yeah.
Right? When you're talking to other people, that's how you're communicating, right? So you don't have to be, a Spurg going and having a spreadsheet on how to communicate and how to do this, right? And so, Rollo Tomasky will talk about, I think it's like Vox Day, who talks about, sigma, gamma, alpha, beta, all these sorts of things. And there's one that's the concept of a gamma, which is the real nerdy guy who's like trying to make a spreadsheet. But why did this work? Why did this make someone like this other person? Whether it's, just friends or it's romantic or whatever, they're trying to like, and they're like, but I said the right words. I did the wrong words, right? And so, kind of this idea that like whether you're approaching it like with a checklist, logically trying to deduce all these things, you're just quantifying emotional things and sequences of emotions. You're studying the emotions. And if you're just being natural and in the moment, you're more of a natural when it comes to, whatever you're talking about. Right. You're just doing it in the moment, but you're doing emotions. That's all we're sending, signals and things through. That's how we're actually sending info.
With the pickup stuff, which I've been familiar with a lot, I remember when I was in college and, the Game came out, Neil Strauss, I've kind of like gone all the way around to arrive back to the beginning, which is that I think the biggest challenge for guys is authenticity. You know what I'm saying? Like there's this thing with like, oh, you drop the neg, like, you see a hot chick and you gotta knock her down a peg because she's, she's all up here and you're down, and it's weird because you're like, wait, you're assuming that this person is better than you already, and now you got to bring them to your level and you got to bring yourself up like that. There's a problem there automatically, right? But what it's really saying is, it's not about knocking someone down and propping yourself up. What it really is about being not afraid to be authentic. And that can be like, maybe she just has so much status and you don't, and you're just going to have to be a simp. Okay, fine. Accept that. Like, it's okay. Accept that you're going to simp on this one. This chick you're going to simp on, and this chick's got the status and you don't. Okay, fine. Like, I find that when you accept that, you're in tune with that and you go, okay, yeah, she's super, super hot. Like, and she's definitely affecting me emotionally. I recognize it, cool. As soon as you do that, usually that spell starts to dissipate to where you can then say, and that person starts to become a real person. You know what I'm saying? I noticed that more than anything. And it took a long time to kind of realize that. And it's not about like, I got to puff myself up. Like I'm the man, I'm a Mac daddy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's not that. It's not, oh, like she's so much better than me and I must worship her and kiss her feet. It's just, look, I'm doing my shit. This is who I am. She's super hot. Great. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. And sure, you can learn some. I mean, I'm not saying don't learn game. There's definitely, things you can do to have game, and you should develop your social skills and your ability. But so much of that is tied to really like developing yourself as a person, having authenticity. And then the little tactics you do are the little tactics you do that are fun. It's like, it's fun. It's like, it's kind of a fun little trick. It's like doing a magic trick or something like that. It's fun, but it's not like the serious thing where you're like, okay, now I gotta do this. Now I gotta do this. Now I gotta do, oh, she didn't like that. Damn. I hate this. I hate running game. It's like, no, that's not how it works, bro. It's like, you need to get to a place where you feel like cool and happy and fun and you love yourself. And then once you're in that mode and you're in that thing, then it's just fun to try these little things and it's cute. But I find that, you don't really have to do a lot of that stuff. It actually, I don't know. It's complex, but it's weird with like self-esteem. It's complex, but at the same time, it's really not. It's just getting to a place where you feel good about yourself, and you accept yourself and you like yourself, a lot of it's like self-hatred, oh, I'm too fat. Oh, I'm too short. Oh, I'm too this. Oh, and a lot of that's because like you had people in your life talking shit to you growing up, you know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these guys they were around people that were not, they were not life lovers, and they were talked down to, and they were treated like they were less than, and so they're compensating, and I say that as someone who's been through that, like for real. I still go through that, so, but at the end of the day, it's sort of like you have to come to some place where you actually like yourself. You value yourself, and I'll tell you what, I mean, not to get all political, but the Rand stuff, people talk shit about her all the time. And she was a cold-hearted person and, she's this evil person, whatever. But I never got that from reading her stuff. Like her stuff is all about like, it's pro-life. It's pro living your life. It's pro, like when I discovered her work through somebody who introduced all that to me, it was, I mean, I was grateful. I'm grateful that I was able to, that for that person to introduce that to me, because it really changed because once you understand your value, that's the hurdle thing, is your values, right? Once you understand your values and your crystal, and there's no confusion about what your values are, man, it gives you so much power as a person, so. Let's talk about rock and roll, bro. We going deep on this philosophical stuff.
Yeah,
It's a rock show, man.
I like to let to really flesh it out, because that's the nice thing I like. You were saying it's the authenticity, it's the story, it's the narrative, and it's like if we're just like, well, rock's going wrong, they need better songs, they need people who don't give a crap. But it's like, what's underneath all that? What are the things that like inform that? Like, why do we say that? And what do we actually mean by that? And I think when we're able to go, as flowery and whatever, when we're able to actually like get into stuff and talk all over the place and come back to a thing, we're able to flesh out and uncover like all the different, like a sculpture. We're able to, get a more accurate version of like what we think's actually going on. Because like even if you have it in your head and I have it in my head, but in the viewer, like you got it in your head, whoever, right? You're listening. It when you X around it and it just becomes clear. Things click, things happen, you feel different. Like what you just said right there, when you're like the Rand thing for you, and in general, it's like when you get clear on your values, that's what lets you get to that. Like you just said, was the self-esteem kind of thing, the thing that was at the center of game, that was all this stuff, right? Was that knowing your values and being clear on it, and just that boom crystallizes, right? And then you've got that to go off of. And so, for example, for me, I know I'm like, okay, want to be a rock star, want to be a musician, and the way I can, make the most money, but also give the most value to society is like bringing back rock. So let me do that. And when I'm not doing that, I'm like, what am I doing with my life? I'm a mess. But when I'm doing it, I feel awesome. I feel great. Everything's good. So I'm like, okay, let's keep doing that. And I make a lot of progress doing it. Right. So it's just like,
Well, you have a purpose. I mean,
exactly.
I think that's probably the number one thing. Like when people feel like they don't have a purpose, that's when they kind of fall apart, you know? Yeah. And I struggle with that. Cause like, you know, there are a lot of things I like to do, you know, there's a lot of different things that I enjoy. But you know, being able to say this is my purpose and staying true to that, that's challenging, man. It's a lot harder than it seems, you know, on the surface. First of all, figuring out what is your purpose, you know, is a challenge. And then staying true to it when you have all these other things around you telling you that you should be, you know, shiny objects telling you to, you know, what you should be chasing, you know. But if you look at all the really successful people, I mean, the common denominator other than grit and sticking with things, which is part of purpose, I think. Like if you have a deep purpose, then you're going to stick it out no matter how grueling it gets. But if you look at a lot of successful people, they have a deep purpose, and then they're you know, they like, I mean, look at Elon. I mean, that guy wants to go to fucking Mars. Like he really, really, really wants to go to Mars. Like he really wants to. I don't know what he's going to do when he gets there. He's going to have to figure out a new thing that he's going to have to really care about, you know, but that thing drives him building all of his companies. Like, and I don't think people realize like Tesla, you know, it's the car company and all this stuff, but really Tesla's the testing ground for when you get to Mars. How are you going to get around? How are you going to travel? How are you going to, you know, generate electricity? How are you going to generate energy? You know, and I think with Elon, my theory with Elon is that all the shit he's doing is because he wants to create Galt's Gulch on Mars. That's my theory. I think secretly he's like, I want to get the fuck off this planet and I want to build my own. He wants to be like the founding fathers or whatever. Like he wants to go somewhere and build his own thing and like, you know, live his life the way he wants to live it and not have other people, you know, control him and boss him around. That's my theory. And he wants to take all the coolest, brightest people with him, which we got to, hopefully that's us, bro. I don't know. Hopefully that's us. On the Starship, he'll take us with him to
Starship Enterprise, baby. Beam me up. No, yeah, I do think it's you know, I think it's probably not a bad theory. I don't think it's a bad theory at all.
Yeah.
And you were saying grit and sticking with it and purpose. So I'm like, I want to pinpoint back on what you said because I liked it first off, but because I wanted to, I feel like I'm almost there. There's something I wanted to say. You're talking. What were you talking? Oh, purpose in this thing. So for me, your example, you're like sticking with it, right? Mm-hmm. It's find your purpose first. Then the next hard thing is stick with it, right?
Right.
And stay true to it is, I think. And so, cause that's what makes sticking with it hard is if the shiny object, so you're not staying true. And the way you avoid that is go, what's true to me, right? So for some people, it's make 15,000 videos of me playing guitar and doing this whole thing and getting all these perfect songs in my bedroom and learning how to mix and master and do all this stuff. And it's just like, at the end of the day, I've got nothing to show for it. I don't feel particularly good. And also, I'm like, I know there's people who I could just, if I had a bigger following, I could just DM them and they would do it in like 5 seconds and be happy to. And they could show me how to do it. And then I would know forever instead of me trying to reverse engineer and learn every single skill, which is impossible. So it's just like, and I realized I like talking to people because it lets me get to, it's enriching and I get more energy. And if I'm not feeling good and then I do a podcast and I do talk to someone, I feel way better. Like, it's just like, yeah, it's like, yeah, what you know, it's like, I can still be like, I worked up before, my lighting. But then you get on and you're like, oh, the warm blanket of talking to another person who's got cool stuff to say and you want to hear about what they got to talk about. And it's just like, oh my God. So for me, that was the way for the point. Staying true was realizing like, okay, talking and doing the social media and like, that's what's true to me and getting my things out there and kind of waving the flag and like, also the true thing, as much as it could be advantageous if you're being cynical or just strategic, would be to go, oh, okay, don't acknowledge the fact that all this BS with like indie stuff with no distortion and all this corporate stuff that's garbage, you know, and like say, yeah, all the stuff that shows up as rock these days, new rock. And it's just like awful. It's awful. It's garbage. It doesn't function as the same good, even remotely, right? So it's like, don't even call it the same thing. You can just call it just drivel is probably more accurate, right? Or you can just call it mild-mannered indie. I think that should be, you know, like, you know, that could be your genre name. And so when you're looking at that, yeah, so that's where I kind of see it's like, it is authentic to me. And the vision of the thing is to actually call it out and to go, this sucks. I want to do things that are loud, that are more like the White Stripes and Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath, there's Slipknot, or the Smiths or like Nirvana or whoever, or Soundgarden or, like Smashing Pumpkins. Like, I want to do things that are loud in your face and causing a little bit of a problem. And you know what I mean? And, or even if I'm like, I want to do like Beat It, Michael Jackson, or like, just like, it can like have guitars, have synths, have big powerful melodies, Dio, whatever, hair metal, just literally anything with a guitar, Jimi Hendrix, like psychedelic stuff. I love all of it. It's great. It's great, except for the bands that suck, right? We don't even need to mention that. You already know. You know out there. It's you. You suck. No, I'm kidding. I love you. I didn't mean that. I love you. Please take me back. I've been trying to stay at my friend's house. I haven't been able to. So please take me back. Anyways, pointing out the fact that this stuff sucks, it could be something that's, like, I think it's advantageous because then I can get, okay, because here's the thing. Who has all the followings? The rock people? I'm the first one. I'm the first one who's trying to or that I can see, who's actually saying the shit. I think rock is 10 years behind comedy, right? With the podcast thing. Once the podcast blows up and one first person has done it, then they can bring on the friend, tell them to start doing the podcast. So if this gets 100,000 listeners an episode, let's say, in a year from now, right? Mm-hmm. If I have a friend come on who's a really good rock musician who does real rock, I can bring them on like once a month. And after a year, I wouldn't be surprised if they now have an audience similar. That's what happened with Theo Vaughn with Joe Rogan. That's what happened with a lot of people who are friends with Joe Rogan. And Joe didn't even start huge as podcasting, right? And so I think in a lot of spaces, that's what you see. And I think rock is the next place that's going to happen. But I'm leading the charge. And so the problem with that is there's no money in it. There's no glory in it. There's no status in it so far, right? So I mentioned a lot of this stuff to Michael Sartain. I spoke to him in like January, like we did a call, through MOA. And I had been in MOA probably like 7-8 months by then. And I was like, doing podcast, yada, 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 my rock thing. And he was like, no one likes rock. Why would you do that? That's stupid. It's not going to make money. No one's going to listen to it. You should do something on nightlife. And I get that because that's kind of his niche and what he's gone into in his world he knows. But as I said, 48% of Americans, there's huge money in this, but up front, there's no glamour. And so the whole reason I bring it back to is because up front, it might make sense for me to pay lip service and be like, I love blankety blank who sucks and isn't real rock, right? And it's all garbage.
I mean, you have to decide.
Because they have a following, and I can get them on, and I can get me eyeballs first, but then it gets me the wrong people. And
you have to decide what matters to you. Like, yes. I mean, look at like someone like Ron Paul. I mean, can you imagine being like, think about Ron Paul, okay? Like, he's what now, 90, how old is he, 93 or 94? I don't even know. He's in his 90s. He's in his 90s, okay? And when he went, did his first presidential run, 2008, right? That was, I think he was in his 70s when he did that, right? It was like 20 years ago, or not 20, but, almost 20 years ago, 16 years ago or something, right? Or whatever. I'm terrible with math. I'm not a math Indian. But think about that guy. I mean, that and all the people in the Mises Institute that were talking about Austrian economics and all that shit. I mean, how many years?
What kind of Indian? Arrow?
Rock. I'm a rocket Indian. Talking Indian. No, I mean, but think about that guy. Like, I mean, how alone he must have felt. Oh, I mean, I don't think he was alone. He had a small group of people, but those guys, I mean, Murray Rothbard wrote all this shit.
Yeah.
And other than, in his time, it was a small group of people that was reading this stuff. And now look at it. You got someone like Javier Milei, who, like, his work has influenced the president of a nation that could be one of the biggest economies in the entire world again, right? So it's like you have to decide. On the one hand, I go through the same struggles. On the one hand, I'm like, I want to make money and I want to live a comfortable life. And if I'm going to have a family and do all this stuff, then I don't want them to want the way that, I grew up in a fairly comfortable household growing up, and I wasn't wanting for anything, right? Like I want to surpass, my dad and his success and all this shit. There's all this psychological stuff that pops up, right? At the same time, it's like, well, maybe your purpose is to do this now, and you're not going to see the benefit of it for 40 years. But when people are back on your page, it's like you're the guy, you're the person from day one who was doing that. And now you've earned all this authenticity over the years, all that capital that you've earned for being that person when nobody else cared. I'll give you another example. Like, I don't know if you're in crypto, but there's this cryptocurrency XRP, it's firing off. It's going crazy today. All right. And now you got all these people hopping in and, everybody's excited about it. But dude, I bought that cryptocurrency years ago. And then it's been years, and I won't go into it all, but like they got sued by the SEC. There was all kinds of stuff that suppressed the price of that thing, and all these other cryptocurrencies were just taking off and going crazy and and it sucked. I was like, man, like, not that I own some other things that did all right, but I was like, this is my, that's my fucking horse that I was betting on, right? But I'm glad I stuck it out, because now it's freaking, it's doing its thing. Hopefully it continues to do so. But I just think that, if it really is your purpose, you're not going to care necessarily about the money. You'll figure it out. You'll get there eventually. I look at Dave Smith. He's a good example too. I don't know. He had an audience that was doing his thing, but like where he is today in this last year is like insane. Like, I'm seeing him on podcasts that like I would never have thought he would go on, because he's that known now, and he put in the work since like what, 2008 or 2010.
Look, sometimes he's on Legion of Skanks.
Years he's been putting in the work.
Sometimes he's on Legion of Skanks, which is unthinkable. Honestly, right. Why he never shows up?
I'm just saying that. Not that he doesn't have an audience, and but I just think like part of it is also you got to do the work. Like, you can't fuck around. Like with the Goat Show, we're doing 2 episodes a week, and we're just now figuring out how to really, really crank out mediums and shorts using AI stuff, right? And it's like, and we don't have that many subscribers at this point on YouTube, but it's like, hey, I get it. Like, we got to make more content. We got to put more shit out. We got to be consistent. And we've built out a sort of a roadmap, and we got to figure all this stuff out. And we got to, and then once we get to a certain, and we may get monetized, or we may get to the quote unquote monetization on YouTube and not get monetized, because we talk about all kinds of stuff, and YouTube may not like it, and we're on X as well and all these other platforms. So I'm just saying, like, I think at the end of the day, you have to decide, like, is something really mean? Is it really mean that much to you? If it does, then you got to stick with it, and you're going to have to deal with going through the valley of darkness for however long it takes to make it happen. You know what I'm saying? I'm lucky. I'm a Leo. I'm a natural stubborn person, so I stick with everything way longer than I'm supposed to. I stuck with startups way longer than I should have. That didn't go anywhere. But I don't know. It's a tough battle. It is nice. It is frustrating when you see other people just taking the easy wins and making a bag, and then you're like, what am I doing? But then at the same time, it's like, if you're doing big shit, how many rockets did Elon have to blow up? He put all his money into SpaceX and Tesla. He could have just chilled after PayPal and just done whatever, dumb fuck thing. Instead, he's like, I want to, he had a real purpose, and he was blowing up rockets, and he was sleeping on the floor. Can you imagine? You made, I don't know how many millions he made with PayPal, or, but, taking all that money, putting it into something like SpaceX and Tesla, and then you literally are sleeping on the couch, and you're like 1 week away from being insolvent, and someone like, Jason Calacanis hops in and gives you that little bit of extra cash to help you out. Imagine, like, that's wild. Like, that's real purpose. Like, he was willing to give it all up. So I kind of look at that, and if you have a real purpose, then, you got to decide what you're willing to sacrifice. And I think the people that really succeed are the ones that really put it all on the line, and are smart. Like, you still got to think, you still got to plan, you still got to strategize, you still got to have the discipline and get up every day and do the work, you know what I'm saying? So, purpose and grit is important too. Like, it's the most important. They say the most successful people, they did a study on this with kids. Like, what's the common factor between, I forget how long the study lasted for, but it's like, it was like over many years. And they're following these kids from like grade school, I think, until they got out of college. There's a TED Talk about it. And they found that the only common factor between those who succeeded and those who didn't were the ones that had grit and just like pushed through. Didn't matter how much money they had, socioeconomic status, race, gender, none of that shit mattered. It was just simply grit. How hard they were, how hard, did they keep going, when things got tough? So, the evidence is there, but you just have to decide for yourself whether you're willing to do it, So there you go.
Well, now that we know about
these nuggets, people.
Getting grit nuggets. So wait, okay. So I like what you were saying. So
full balls of wisdom,
golden balls.
Yep.
Get that sus in chat, everyone. Hey, chat, let's get sus going in chat. No, so Goat Show. What's your guys' goal? So I know my mission here. It's bring back rock, and so first. So let me just kind of give you my 2 cents, and then I want to hear yours. My 2 cents is what you said, the thing about the Dave Smith thing, and you were making the Ron Paul point and the Murray Rothbard and all these people. I didn't realize, oh yeah, I keep thinking, it's obvious to me logically that rock is going to go where comedy is, but then also I'm like, well, how come I'm the only one doing it? But it's clear to me, it's like I'm just the first one doing it, right? Or no one's hit the critical mass that I can even find them or hear about them. I try and look up other rock people. It's so hard. It's so hard. The only people are people who already have famous bands.
But in a way, it's great though. In a way, you got to flip it too. On the one hand, you're the only one. So someone who is looking for that.
So that's what you made me realize. That's the thing that I was like, holy shit.
Yeah, you have a huge window. The question is you have to do the work. You can't do one episode a month and hope that people find it. You got to figure all this shit. I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out. Is
now, let's flip it on you. What's the Goat Show? What are you guys trying to do there? What is your goal long term?
With the Goat Show,
notes.
It's still open for me, to be honest. I'm doing it because it's fun, and I enjoy it, and I just like talking to the homies about all kinds of stuff. Honestly, my co-host Fresh and Deezy, it's a lot of fun. We talk about, and also it's a good. My thing with the Goat Show, I don't have this big I mean, maybe I should, but I don't necessarily have this gigantic vision of the show. I look at it just it's a good outlet for us to talk about the things that we're already doing it. What do you call it? We're already doing it on chats and stuff. So all we're doing is we're just taking that shit and we're just talking about it on the show. But what's starting to happen, which is actually what I really like about the show, and this is where I personally want the show to go, is I like talking to people that are really good at shit. I like talking to people who are excellent. It inspires me to be better. It inspires me to go do cool stuff, And so and we've been talking about this a lot in the show, and we're working towards it, where I want to have people on the show who aren't just influencers who are, people know about and, do the influencer circuit. I want to go find people that are really cool. It's really good. Let's say somebody who's badass at guitar that nobody knows about. I want to find that person, and give them a platform, be like, yo, this is the greatest guitar player in the world right now. Or this is the greatest, drummer in the world right now. Or this is I was looking the other day, I was like, I know nothing about gas and oil, and yet it runs everything. Okay. Let me look some shit up. And what's the best company, the best American company, Chevron. And there's people that work at that company that are probably really badass. I was looking at take Chevron, okay, who's the CEO? Okay, this is the CEO. And then here's the second in command. Okay, who's the team underneath the second in command? It's all on LinkedIn. You can find all these people. And they have a special guy at Chevron, and his whole job is to negotiate deals internationally with countries like Iran and China. And, you know what I'm saying? It's oh, that's really cool. I'd like to interview that guy. That might be a really cool interview. And he's probably stoked to do it, because who's asking him about his job and what he does? He probably knows that he's doing really incredible stuff. He probably knows that hey, if I weren't at this company and I weren't negotiating these deals, the world would be a different place. You know what I'm saying? So I'm that's where we're kind of moving in this next year. Is I want to grow the channel by, strategically, by having people on that do have audiences already, but at the same time, I really want to highlight people that I think that's where I'm going to get the most thrill, is really highlighting great people and showing people who are really badass at things that you would never think about, who's the greatest, I don't know. My friend, I hope he comes on soon. My friend Ryan, he's invented this new type of charcoal that is his company is just exploding. Like it's growing like leaps and bounds, you know? And yeah, he invented like this new type of charcoal. I want to get him on the show because I don't know anything about you never think about charcoal. Like every 4th of July, every, whatever, charcoal, what is he making that makes his charcoal so much better? What is like, how does charcoal even work? What is charcoal? So I don't know. And I don't want to know. That's why I want to get him on the show. You know what I'm saying? So he can explain it to me because he's an expert, obviously. If his company's growing like crazy and he's made this really new badass charcoal, then cool. Like, and that's really where I hope the show goes. And then we still have the episodes where it's just the hosts and we're just talking about the stories of the day. That's fun. I love that. Our Halloween episode was a lot of fun. We did an episode for the election, stuff like that. I still love doing that. But that to me is really the motivation of the show for me personally. I don't know how Fresh and Deezy feel. But my motivation is like, let me find, I think I would get the most thrill out of that. Find the best people that nobody knows about and just shine a light on them and have them explain shit. I think that'd be great. So there you go.
Yeah, well, that's an exciting pitch. That's an exciting vision, right? No, I get, yeah. So I had a similar thing where we were talking about Chevron and the CEO, and like for me, I am looking at like Spotify's really trying to do video podcasts and be like the home of that, and I don't think it's that much competition or it's populated really, right? And so I'm like, okay, I'm really looking into it, and so the way that I saw some things on it was like, they want, short form. And the way they do the short form is you just see, it just says, we're recommending this to you a little bit over like the box, right?
Yeah. I can't remember if we looked at that. I'll have to.
Yeah. Well, so
to be honest with you, like my co-host Fresh is really, he was the one so we were doing spaces on Twitter for a while. And that's where it all started because we had this NFT project called Zillionaire Goat Club. It's still live. But we started doing spaces to, it's kind of a way to promote it. And then he was like, we're doing all these spaces and spending all this time. Like, why don't we make a YouTube show? And that way, we might be able to monetize it or whatever. So yeah. I'll be honest, the grand vision there has not been a sort of grand vision of the Goat Show. It's sort of been we've just been messing around. We're kind of in our early Rogan era. We're just trying it out and messing with things and who knows, but, like I said, my ideal situation is it's the Goat Show. We meet great people and we talk to them about cool shit. And then we hang out and talk about the great stories of the day and leave it at that. But sorry, I interrupted you. But,
no, well, it's exactly perfect. And so a goat, you were saying was like the Chevron guy, right? And you could just go on LinkedIn and find them. And so I was looking, people are talking to Daniel Ek, the CEO of Spotify. And he's like, I don't know if I have that many details or like we're working on stuff still. And I'm like, let me type in LinkedIn. Let me type in Spotify for creators. That's what they call it. And I find the VP of Spotify for creator. I think it might be the VP of the whole company.
Interview him.
It's just,
you don't even, here's the thing. You don't even have to get get the VP if you can, obviously. If you get Daniel Ek, do that. But like, if you can, you get the person who curates the rock playlists at Spotify. You interview him, like that's dope. Or the guy who curates the alternative, like a lot of my playlists are like alternative playlists or whatever. The guy who curates the alternative playlist, like interview him. That'd be dope. I would watch that. I'd be like, how does he find music? How does he select music? How does he, what I'm saying? Like,
this is the guy. See, that's a good. See, this is what I'm talking to you.
That's what I'm saying. There is a sign. One thing I will say about Sartain and those guys. Shout out Casey Herzog. He was on our show. Casey's my coach over there, and he's provided a lot of value. I don't know if he's your coach, but you should talk to Casey because Casey's a photographer and an artist and stuff. So like, he's provided a lot of value in terms of like how to do the thumbnails. Like I realized our thumbnails are, well, I didn't realize, he told me our thumbnails were too complicated and he recommended, hey, simplify your thumbnails. And then he was right. And we simplified it and it looks so much better. And that's recently, he was like, he gave examples of what do you call it? Of accounts that have really cool titles. Like because for instance, you can get the Spotify guy and maybe there's enough people that want to listen to it, but you might need to phrase the title in a way so that it draws the person's interest into it. You know what I'm saying? So that, you know what I'm saying? Like even with what we're talking about right now, like maybe I said something wild. You should make that the freaking title or something, right? Because like that's not going to get someone to click on it and want to learn more. So, and that's, I mean, we're learning how to do that. But yeah, I mean, there is a science to all this stuff. Like you can't deny the, you know, there's a way to do things. But at the same time, I also think like, you know, shouldn't be afraid to try a bunch of stuff, you know? So we'll see. But I mean, I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that with the GOAT show, like getting guests on that. And we have a bunch that are coming up we got this guy coming up, Nelson McElveen. Nelson McElveen. And he's built like these dope ass super water filters that are like scientifically, he has like this, you can see the PDF and the paperwork. It's scientifically, it turns your normal water into like you could put it on your shower and you can drink the water. And it's immediate. It's like, it's a thing you add and it filters it right there. And you can literally drink your shower water. I mean, I don't know if that's gross for some people, but that's how well it filters the water. So like, it's that way. And it's cool because you don't have to like put it on a water pump or any of the shit. You just put it on your faucet or whatever. And it like purifies it as it flows. So, you know, so people like that, this guy, Jay Vincent's coming on soon. Or we already had him on, but we're going to, you know, put the episode out soon. Jay's the guy that I work out with him. He shows how you can work out once a week for 30 minutes and get better results than like fucking everybody. Like I've done every kind of thing you can do when it comes to working out and all this shit. And you do what he does. And I have proof with my DEXA scans and all that kind of stuff. Like in like 6 weeks, I gained like 10 pounds of muscle and lost 6 pounds of fat, or no, 18 pounds of fat. Working out once a week. No bullshit.
There you go.
So that's what I want to, that's what I would like to do with the show. And that's what I feel like the purpose of the show is like really find these people who are great and like present them. And hopefully we get to a place where we have enough of an audience where, you know, you can find someone really, really fucking badass and then like they get exposure to, you know, however many people out there, you know, who knows what that leads to. So. That's kind of
so you're talking about Casey and the title thumbnail thing and like simplifying. Did Casey talk about that during the episode?
He did not talk about during the episode. We didn't really talk about tactics during the episode. We talked about a lot of, you know, things that you know from MOA, like fix your fucking Instagram.
Yeah.
You know? You gotta do it, guys. If you're a guy who wants to date in the modern world, you have to fix your Instagram. It's your CV.
Yeah.
And we talked about I don't know if you know Kareem Gonzalez. We just dropped his episode.
No.
That's the last episode we dropped. You know, and he's in Mexico City and he's a red carpet VIP host. And he hosted like he did the red carpet for Miss Mexico and in Miss Mexico City, I think. And he's a super smart dude, like a big military history buff. Played you know, Division I baseball. So like, you know, learned a lot from him. And yeah, I mean, MOA's got a lot of guys. Like we got a lot more people coming from MOA. At some point we'll get Michael on. I want to get him on when like that's the other part of this whole thing, man. It's like with anything in life, it's like trial and error. You gotta do a lot of shit and try a lot of shit. Like I feel like we just got our visual aesthetic down. Like literally this last episode, we got it down. And you know, that took like 6 months of making episodes and trying things. And, you know, my, you know, Fresh is really like his skill set is incredible now. Like, but you know, he's been learning stuff over the course of 6 months, like editing and filters and all this shit, you know what I'm saying? So, but yeah, with Michael, like I almost feel like Michael's going to be one of those like milestones, I think, for us. Like it's like, okay, this is the episode where it's like, it was this and now it's here, you know what I'm saying? And I want it to be like, my goal, I just have this internal goal. I want it to be the best thing he's ever been on. You know what I'm saying? I want to go deep.
Yeah.
Talk about some real shit. You know what I'm saying? So anyway.
Yeah. Well, likewise, same thing, you know, because I don't know if he still says it, but last time I went on a call was probably like a year and a half ago. Like, you know, I've been super inactive. But when at the time he was like, if anyone starts a podcast or has a podcast, I will go on. Yeah. Right. And so if that's still, you know, there, I still haven't checked because I'm like, I want to, like you're saying, get those reps in, dial in the things, the aesthetic, right? So that's kind of stuff with my brother I want to work on is like thumbnail and things like that. So maybe Do I reach out to Fresh, or maybe I just friggin'
if you hey, listen, we're here for you, man. If any advice you want,
hell yeah,
happy to help you.
So the clips and the AI and stuff like that, because I was going to say on Spotify, and this is why I'd like to talk to Fresh and kind of see what's his approach, because on Spotify I looked through and basically they give you like a clip and you just see but it's automatically playing. So there's no thumbnail really that you're going to get caught by, but it's going to be whatever's happening on screen. And so if it's just someone talking, you don't see captions, you don't see words. So it's clearly like, okay, I need to have a video of something, or I need text on the screen and like things moving quick to catch someone's attention.
Yeah, we need to look at Spotify. I think they're monetizing now, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to try and hit it really, really hard.
Yeah, I think we should
try and hit it with a ton of clips. And so I'm thinking, if like me and you, because I doubt there's going to be more. And so if we just hit it with like, boom, episode, clip, clip. Because the top of the funnel is the clips, and that's the thing they're actually pushing.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at Opus again. We started messing with it back in the summer, but it didn't feel like robust enough for us. But now it's like it's way better, and I think give it another couple of months, Opus is going to be incredible. I think there's still a little bit of challenge. They have a new thing called Clip Anything, so they've gotten a lot better with like you being able to prompt it to click a certain way or clip a certain way. So that's a lot of what we're figuring out now. And if we can figure that out, then happy to share that info with you. It's just that every time we've used it so far, it's not quite there. You have to do a lot of trial and error, and it costs like even if you have a subscription, you get a certain amount of credit. So, but I think it's finally getting to a place where I think Opus is going to be dope, and we can crank. Yeah, because that's our biggest challenge right now is cranking out mediums and clips. It just takes so much time, and there are other things that we want to work on, or that I need to work on, which is like we're trying to do our own products. Trying to get our Happy Dad type products.
Okay, so what are you doing with that? Because I was going to say that's one of the things I'm hesitant to reach out to get Rollo and like Sartain on, because one of the things I want to have before I get them on is the Happy Dad, right? And so for me,
well, I mean, you need, just ask I don't know your coaches, but like ask them about I can send it to you after the show, but you can get from MOA, you can get an what do you call it, affiliate code.
Oh, an affiliate code. Yeah.
Affiliate code. Yeah, so we put that on our Dream episode. Yeah, so you can get affiliate code, and so if you talk to any of these guys or whatever, I mean that's what we're doing is we're just putting it on our affiliate code, and
So for me, I was thinking the idea of basically doing like a pay-per-view, basically making a Kickstarter for an event, which would be like a pay-per-view, almost like festival show thing, where you'd have like a bunch of like big bands, like, maybe the Black Keys, and like just things that would get people to pay attention and credibility. And then you throw in smaller bands that are up and coming and really good that no one knows about. Yeah. And you have them work with the Black Keys and the really good sound engineers to be insanely good, the best they've ever been.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a recommendation.
Yeah.
This is kind of how we've been operating.
Yeah.
Is kind of like I said before, what you can do is we call it Rico. Like when you're Ricoing the mob, right? You go after the low level players and then you work your way to the top, right?
Yeah.
You may want to consider that where, okay, like, who is the Black Keys tour manager?
Yeah.
And then maybe you can't get to him. Okay, well, who works with him? What roadies work underneath him? Okay, talk to the roadies first and do an interview with them. Then that's a contact you have now, and it's a reference because that person who's a roadie can be like, when you're like, hey, do you think you can get me the tour manager? I'd love to talk to him. And then he has a reference point. Oh, when he goes to tour manager, hey, this guy Connor's pretty cool. He does this show called The Rock Show. He wanted to have you on. Here's the episode we did. And then you can send that episode to him. And now that guy can, when he gets time, he can watch it. Oh, this is cool. Okay, I'll go on this guy's show. Now you have a contact with the tour manager. Okay, cool. Hey, you may not go straight for the artist.
Yeah.
You might say, hey, who are the other people who are on the team that put together the show to make this thing happen? I want to interview that whole circle of people. Boom. Now you have an entire month of episodes. And then now you're like one of those people, you're like, hey, do you think it'd be possible if I could get artist on my show? And now guess what? You just got an artist that might have, all those people. But the cool thing is that you had all this content that's actually interesting anyway, by interviewing all these people who are around people. That's one way that we're kind of working it too, is like we're interviewing a lot of people that are interesting that in their own right, but they may not have an audience. They may not have a following.
Yeah.
But at the very least, what it does is it allows us to get into certain circles. And if you have an example of that content, so it's like, okay, you know, like I'll give you an example, like with Angela, we had Angela McArdle on recently.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah. I think 2 episodes ago.
How'd you get that?
Well, to be fair, I've known Angela for a while from LA, obviously, you know.
Can you get Angela on? I know you. I said I know Ravin. Angela, please come on and talk about metal.
Oh, she's great. She'll hop on. She definitely come on the show. But I
want to say thank you because I went to the friggin' sweaty Long Beach Convention Center in 2022, and I had my long unkempt hair, and I got my photo with Dave Smith, and it's the cringiest thing ever. So I want to say thank you for making that worthwhile. Hopefully,
yeah. But I mean, with Angela, and not to say she wouldn't have come off it just outright, but I wanted to show her. We did some interviews with some different people that were, you know, liberty minded or whatever, and I wanted to, you know, that helps. It's like I want to show her, hey, we're not just like, because I get it, like, you know, like the reason I'm on your show right now is because I've seen your episodes. Like I know you're doing it for real, and it's cool, and you're a great host. So like. That helps. But if I didn't know you and I had a friend go like, you should go to my friend's show, and then there's no show I can watch to get an indication of what it's like, I'm going to be like, I mean, I say no, but I might be like, I don't know. Maybe I'll, you know, I might put it on the back burner.
Well, exactly. I invited you on because I've been seeing your stuff. Right. Off, I know, like, we knew each other for libertarian stuff and MOA stuff, and then seeing the pod. And so then, like, so there's, you know, tons of reasons why I'm like, oh, it's going to be a great conversation. I want to talk to him. It's going to be a blast. Right, because some of these times you invite people on, and then it's like, well, it's a slog, it's a lot of work, right? So I was like, let me.
If you host a podcast, you're usually pretty decent at like being able to talk. Like I understand. Sometimes there's a struggle. You're like, oh, I gotta fucking. To be fair, we haven't had many guests who are bad, but sometimes I think the trouble we have is sometimes guests they like to ramble, they like to go on, you know, and you have to be that. I still have trouble doing that, like having to interject, you know, or, you know, cut in. And then also sometimes like my perception of it is not really the reality of it. Like maybe they're talking for a long time. People want to hear them, you know, and I'm over here going like, oh, I got to cut in here because maybe it's boring, and it's really not. So, you know, it's a little bit of a juggle.
I tend to try and lean on the side of like, let it go, because I realize it seems to be, you get to, so my thought was, you take the episode, you find the really good spot, and you edit it, and you put that in the front, like the little teaser to get people in, and you make the thumbnail that, right? Like you were saying, kind of, right? Mm-hmm. And so how do you get those moments? You only get that serendipity and that really good stuff if you let it kind of like, you let it be open. So it's like, okay, this could be going somewhere. It could be falling flat. You just let them cook. You got to have, and I think that's the beauty of doing a 3 hour, like a Rogan, or even if it's an hour, an hour and a half, whatever, you've got that room to kind of like, these things can happen because you're not in the rush. So you give them room. And so things can pop out. I wasn't planning on talking about half this shit, right? But it's so much more interesting because there's all these things that feed into rock. And it's like, why am I care about rock? Why do you care about rock? What did it get you into? Oh, Rage Against the Machine, Dead Kennedys, all these things. Right? It brings you all this. And then I'm at Libertarian Convention. I'm sitting there. I'm like, man, I wish all these people were listening to my band. How do I get that to happen? Right? And I'm sitting there like, Angela's talking about rock. All these people like listen to rock. Everyone loves rock. 48% of people like rock. That's their favorite thing. So I'm like, there's friction here. I'm like, why is it not lining up? Why is it? And so when you go along, so the whole thing you were saying about interviewing people and like, how does it go along? And so sometimes guests, you're kind of like, I've never had a guest be bad, but it's a lot of times hard to get it to start, right? And if it slows down and but I've never had you were saying like talking too much. I would love that because I can just edit. I can cut. I can cut if it's bad. But so that was your approach. And so I was thinking, I was listening to Dusty Rhodes, who's a WWE guy, and he went out of the WWE and went and did independent stuff. And basically he got big former fighters, big names to come to his amateur fights to give it the credibility to help build it up. And so he called that getting the rub. So if The Rock brings you on as an unknown to the stadium, he's like, this guy's the best. You're getting the rub of the credibility and the secondhand swag, right? Right. You're getting secondhand status, right? Yeah, and so I've been trying to the rub. Yeah. I'll put it this way. I've been rub maxing. So I interviewed Rollo's drummer, Jake Cope. This dude is insane.
Nice.
He's awesome. Dude, if you're ever in Vegas, go hit him up.
Rollo, what is Michael talking about? Rollo's a freaking heavy, like hard rock motherfucker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Rollo. Yeah. Has he told Rollo that?
What?
That nobody likes rock anymore or whatever? I mean, I guess Rollo's doing Rollo shit. So, like, I mean,
Rollo don't care. But I was gonna say, what's interesting is, so I had him on as drummer, and so I think they're now starting to like gig, and they got some logos and stuff. And so I'm like, do I interview the rest of the guys and then say, hey, let's do a full interview, or do I interview Rollo and then do an interview with the band? So I'm trying to think about that.
I would love to hear an interview where you just talk about rock shit with Rollo.
Yeah.
You just talk about rock and roll with Rollo. I bet he's got fucking stories and all kinds of shit.
Yeah.
And especially when you put in the angle of like, you know, what he talks about with like, you know, the kind of having status and all that kind of shit as a rock star and all that shit. I bet that would be a phenomenal episode. I hope he does it. You should do it. Like, go for it.
Because that's the thing. I'm like, why don't you talk about that? You're a guy who can. And then if I introduce you to all these bands, I'm like, if you see any of these bands that you like that are small that have come on my show, show them to everyone, and they will literally be like full-time musicians touring tomorrow. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of like,
I mean, at the very least, it's just
give them a chance at least.
Yeah.
It lets serendipity happen, like we're saying with the long podcast. Right. It gives the opportunity. I feel like,
though, with a lot of rock shows and stuff like that, I think they always. What I've noticed is that they're always talking about like whatever the mainstream thing is. That's not what's interesting about rock. That's not what makes rock interesting. Like, what makes rock interesting is like stories of the road, or like stories of like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's the stuff that makes rock really interesting. It's so I don't know, man. I would say talk to anybody who's just in
that was the rub. That was the rub question I wanted to hit you with. Not, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's what I was saying. Where I'm like, so how many connections do you do? Because I interviewed his drummer, and then I interviewed the drummer's son, who's also a drummer.
What made you want, man? Like, I mean, I don't. Well, I mean, with the
he told me to just email Rollo. He said just email Rollo at this point, and so I'm like, you're right. I think you're probably right, but
yeah. I mean, with the Goat Show, and I would love to interview Rollo. With the Goat Show,
as a goat.
Yeah, you got to be really good at something.
Yeah.
Or you got to be singular at something, you know?
Singular.
So like we another interview we have coming up is with Aaron Day. I don't know if you know that guy.
No, who's that?
Aaron Day is someone we connected through Angela because of Free Roger Ver. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Roger Ver, which
he's like an old school Bitcoin. He was the first investor. Bitcoin. He was the first like legit investor in Bitcoin. That's how he's an OG. They call him Bitcoin Jesus. And the feds got him. It's a crazy story. And if you go to freerogerver.org, you can see. But anyway, we met through that space. We held a space with Angela about that. We met through there. But he's all about like. He's basically like, look, Bitcoin is a freaking, it's been compromised. It's basically going to get taken over. It's not a privacy token. And we talked about a topic that like he's an expert on, Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like when I'm saying, I mean, he's an expert on this topic. So he is the GOAT. Like to me, a GOAT is someone who's the greatest of. So it's like, if you're an expert about something, then cool. So, I mean, so in your case, like for the rock show, if someone's an expert on guitars, that's a person you can get on the show. That's rock. Like he's someone who's a luthier, someone like kind of a crazy guitar luthier person would make sense for your show. But those people, they make guitars for big bands. You know what I'm saying? Because they're the ones who can afford them. So it's one of those things like, oh, you get the band's fucking manager, you get that band's, the lead guitarist luthier, gets, whatever person you get, you know what I'm saying? And then it's like, okay, you've added value because it is something that your show's about and it's cool and it makes sense. But you're also getting this other added value that, hey, you're starting to like kind of, be someone who's known to people around, whoever you want to not that you don't want to talk to these people, I'm just saying like, they're in the orbit and satellite of the big fish that you want to go after. And if you've hit enough of those people, then either one of them will introduce you. If you mention it, you say, hey, I'd love to meet blah, or one of them will, you can, at least like you have the content. So that if you do reach out to the manager or whatever, you can say, hey, I've interviewed, this person on the team. Here are the videos. I'd love to interview you. And then once you have the manager, then it's not it's hop and a skip away. Say, hey, do you mind if I interview some of the people that you manage? And he'll do it if or she'll do it if they had a great time on the show. They like you and they know that you run a professional thing and you do what you say, then you're in. So, I think we're just now getting into that with the GOAT show, but, yeah, I mean, because that's the thing. If you only have, we only have 180 subscribers right now.
Yeah.
So somebody might, if you just cold approached it, someone might be like, I don't want to come on your show when you only have 180 subscribers. Like, what value is it to me?
Yeah.
Right. But if you've done all these interviews and you've had a good time, you've interviewed them, and listen, most managers don't have any followers, so who cares? Interview the manager, then yeah, they like you, they'll want to support you, then they'll help you, So yeah. That's my thought.
And I love it. And honestly, yeah, because that's the kind of stuff, and this is why I'm talking to you. This is the same stuff I'm trying to think about. And I'm driving my brother.
You, man, we're in the same boat. It's not like we have 1 million followers and I'm giving.
No, I know, but I mean,
how to do it.
But you're coming from a similar approach. I feel like, right? We're just right. And you're yeah, and yeah. But so I'm driving everyone crazy talking about all this, like my brother, my friend.
Yeah. I call it Rico. Just get the rub, Rico, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: it's cool. Because maybe nobody watches those episodes, but they're still cool. I'd like to know how, I'd like to meet Radiohead's manager. What is that like? What's it like managing Radiohead, or what's it like managing? The guy who sells Trent Reznor's freaking keyboard shit. I'd love to meet that. What is that? What's Trent Reznor like? What does he demand when he needs a keyboard fixed? Or I don't know.
Yeah, where do you get his eyeliner from?
Dude, that's legit. That's legit. That's legit. Yeah, a lot of bands have freaking makeup. Who does the makeup for these bands?
Okay, I'm writing it. Hair and makeup.
Who makes the mask for Slipknot? I would watch that episode. I'd be like, this, the title, it writes itself, Slipknot's mask maker. I'd be like, oh shit, I'd like to know who makes these masks and how they do it, and maybe maybe even go out there and film and be like, this is the mask room, and here's the person painting the mask, and I don't know. I mean, that's cool. And nobody's doing that shit. No rock, no. I don't think any music people at all are doing that shit, and that's cool.
You know how dumb I am? I thought of none of this. I thought of some of this, but not the best stuff. The Slipknot mask maker, the hair and makeup. I was joking. I was trying to make a joke about Trent Reznor's eyeliner, which I love.
No, it's legit.
As a heterosexual, I love his eyeliner.
Yeah.
But anyway, no, but
costumers,
not mask thing.
Lighting people. There's all kinds of things with rock that are, instrument makers, the drum, techs, roadies. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff, And then if you do enough of that shit, you'll probably get Foo Fighters. If you've interviewed everybody on their team, you can probably get someone from Foo Fighters to come on the show. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, so I guess I actually have to pick a band I actually like.
Guess what? You might get some really cool sponsors. Who's at Ernie Ball making fucking?
I'm too controversial.
Who's the expert at Ernie Ball who really is the guy who knows everything about strings?
Yeah,
interview that guy.
Now here's the question. So I know a guy who has a string company, but the problem is he's got a small company. I think he likes it just because he makes enough money off of it, he can do whatever he wants. So he's not really.
Nobody's gonna watch this.
That's right. Yeah.
And then you get and then watch that episode go parabolic. I'm just saying
No, yeah. No, I get what you're saying. But that's where I go is if I wanted to, because I think about the idea of and I know there's a little in the future, but eventually what you're saying with sponsors is I want to do a signature guitar. I've got a couple ideas for guitars, right? Hint, most of them are taking old models that already exist but aren't copyrighted. No one trademarked them and it's expired. It's in public domain, the designs, right? and they look good, and you can find old ones, but it's just like you can just put that into production and just make a bunch of money off it because it's
Right,
cool,
right.
there's only like 3 or 4 cool guitar looks, and this is one that's actually, and so there's a couple of those I found that are really good, but I'm just like, do I go to a one-off guy and do it, or do I wait to get Fender or Gibson or something bigger? You know what I mean?
Don't wait. Don't wait, man. It's cooler to go the guy who does the one-offs.
Got it.
If you do the guy who does the one-offs that has no audience, you can use that video to then go to someone like Fender and be like, "Here's what I do. I love that feature." And then what I would do is, I would go on LinkedIn. What I would do is this: I would go on LinkedIn. I wouldn't go to Fender Corp or whatever.
Yeah.
I would go on LinkedIn and see if you can find the people who do really cool shit at Fender, the actual technical people. And then you can either reach out to them direct, and if they're like, "Oh, we got to go through Fender," it was like, "Hey, who do I contact at Fender?"
Yeah.
Now you have somebody there who like, you know what I'm saying? Like, LinkedIn. I mean, if there's any value to LinkedIn, that's what it's a LinkedIn Premium. That's what it is. It's finding like really excellent, cool people that you can find and ask, and a lot of people. And you're a streaming cast. You're not like somebody where that's one of the benefits of being on the Ghost Show. We stream because we're from, my co-hosts are one's in Canada, one's in Arizona, and I'm in Florida. Yeah. So you have a streaming cast. It's easy. People can just hop on and, on Zoom and just do the interview. Like,
who's in Arizona?
What's that?
Who's in Arizona?
DZ.
Okay. I was like, if it's Fresh, I can drive over to him. I'm in Arizona right now.
Oh, shit. No, Fresh is in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll connect him though. He'll see this.
Okay, there you go. No, I was gonna say a lot of I went to Toronto a lot when I was younger because I got a lot of family there. My dad's from there.
Yeah.
No, but you were saying LinkedIn, and the Fender thing. And so here's a question I really wanted to get. What if they try and they go, "Oh, you did something," or you talk to someone, they're too controversial, pulled sponsorship? Do you think because Trump got elected, Elon did X that cancel culture was going away?
I mean, it's a risk with the Goat Show.
I feel like Fender's done too many deals, and these companies are I feel like they're looking for anything. So they're like, "Oh, look at these rock musicians," but they're just.
Here's the thing. And you're gonna have to decide how you want to navigate that. I mean, either you don't show this interview, which is fine. I mean, but I'm saying if you being authentic, right? Yeah. It's like, if that's who you are, that's who you are. But here's the thing, though. I know the biggest rock podcast I can think of is Rock Feed. I think that's the biggest one.
Yeah, the Rock Feed guy. I got to hit him up.
Yeah, that guy's he doesn't talk about politics at all, from my understanding. But I think he's rock is more real rock. The shit you're talking about is more MAGA. Yeah. Indie rock is not. Indie rock is like progressive, whatever shit. Crazy progressive stuff. But
GAY,
like White Stripes, fucking heavy rock shit is MAGA.
Well, the listeners are, but sometimes a lot of the bands and stuff
they are. But they have a lot of
or they just don't care. Right? It's exactly.
Well, listen, Kat Von D went on Rock Feed, so you could probably get Kat Von D to go on your show.
Kat Von D, yeah. So who's that?
Kat Von D, she's the tattoo artist, but she went through. She's just gone through a Christian revival. She's still goth and everything.
There you go.
But she moved to Indiana, and she's like Christian goth. That's her.
Yeah.
That's her job. And a lot of people got mad at her, I guess, for that. But no, she seems like a real one. So I don't know. Maybe she'll come on the show, and then you get a lot of people that are sort of in that vein. But again, I mean, it's up to you, man. You got to decide. Is this show going to just be about The Rock, and we don't talk about any of this? I mean, with us, I guess it's different because we have aligned.
Well, I talk about all of it, but yes, that's the thing is, I'm never going to not talk about something if I want to. Mm-hmm. I don't like just talking in circles and getting in the nitty gritty on political stuff. But if you're talking human action and things that are if I was getting into
I like to talk about philosophical things. I don't really partisan bullshit.
I like to stay away from sensationalized stuff like that because first off, a lot of the stuff I don't have any real strong opinions on either way, right? And at the end of the day, I've got so much more to that I can focus on and put energy into trying to grow the show. Right. Same with you at the Goat Show. You guys are yeah, I'm not really focused on like culture war as much. Like, I doubt Angela McArdle is like, man, I really got to go correct all these socialists on all of their economic policies and philosophical underpinnings. How about I influence the next policy, you know,
I will say
the current president.
I will say that,
yeah.
I don't know how radioactive it is anymore to be any. What's funny is that the open window has shifted so far that like it's like the idea that Rogan is a right-wing activist is like absurd to me.
He's just not like, I don't know.
The idea that like, I mean, it's just so wild. It's like he's a right-wing activist. No. You need to like go Fuentes. Like Fuentes is a right-wing activist.
Yes, and this is the thing. That's what's so funny is Joe. Like a lot of his economic, oh, I think this is a good policy, are like just like completely anti-Mises Rothbard. Like they just completely like. If you had just understood any of this stuff, you would just go like, oh, well, this is clearly not the right answer. So he's got the wrong answers, but a lot of the right problems, right?
Bro, and MAGA is not. MAGA isn't right-wing.
Well, yeah, that idea.
MAGA isn't right-wing. There's a lot of MAGA stuff that is not right-wing at all. It's like big government influence. You know, I mean, not big government, but like, you know, government intervention in markets and
exactly.
Shit, you know, and it's, you know, it's like so.
Yeah.
I guess in this day and age, just fuck it. Like, do your thing. Be who you're going to be.
I think that's got to be the answer.
If you lose an interview because of it, maybe it wasn't meant to be in the first place. You know.
Yeah, because I think if people are going to do that to Rogan, they're going to do it to anyone.
Right.
I definitely think so, and I think the authenticity is actually what provides the value and builds the community and builds the thing. And once that gets big enough, you know, it's like if me posting these and at first it's cringe, right? Putting it on my Instagram is scaring off the hoes, and their girls are like, ew, it's cringe or whatever, right? But once it's bigger, the status trumps whatever actual opinions.
Yeah. Once you have status, it doesn't matter.
And so likewise,
even if you're notorious, it doesn't matter. You know, if that's
exactly.
But at the end of the day, it's like, what is it that you want to accomplish?
So the people who would leave and be fickle, I guess we wanted to wrap that up, was the people who would leave and be fickle. The instant it's bigger, and it'll stay big if you just keep doing the things that make it go bigger, which is being authentic, right? So those people will come back eventually, and at that point, you can choose to say kick rocks, right?
Yeah. It's hard to predict what's going to be what. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm seeing now that people are wanting, or like dressing all country and shit. You know what I'm saying? Have you seen that? Like people dress like cowboys and shit in country and all that stuff. It's like a trend that's happening. There's a thing called cottagecore. It's like from the 1800s or some shit. I don't know, but like there's all these, and it's because, you know, things go in trends.
Well, I think you also get the Y2K people. You get the hyper like electronic cyberpunk.
Yeah. Like that's starting to come back. Yeah.
I think you're just getting everything is going like, and there probably is a big macro trend, right? Of like the cottagecore, like cowboy type stuff. I am seeing like being a redneck and blue collar is like in vogue.
Right.
But I would definitely say in general, because like my brother, like he's just listening to all of this like electronic rock, and there's this whole scene where it's all just like it's computer metal, and it's just like, and it doesn't sound like death metal. It doesn't sound like, it just all kind of sounds like not 80s synthwave, but also it's got like organs and like it gets kind of shreddy, but not really. There's like no vocal, like, so all these things are becoming their own things and their own aesthetics. Yeah. Right. And mine's just being gay and retarded, but I'm kidding. That's a little self-deprecation.
You just weaned out a certain audience.
It's just weeding out. Yeah, exactly.
Weaned out a certain.
Here's the thing. Here's what I'm certain on. If anyone's listening to 2 hours and 8 minutes of this, you enjoy it. And I think if you hate everything we're saying, you're not listening this deep.
Right.
That's the nice thing too is, and this is my brother. So I had my buddies on. Have you heard of the band Goose?
No.
They're a jam band like the Dad or like one of those bands, right? And so my buddy Maya, who I've known since high school, right? But she literally has met another chick named Maya, and they follow this band around the whole country. Okay. And they're obsessed with them. Okay. And I had them on. What'd you say? You
interviewed them.
Yeah. The Mayas. I had them on. Yeah. And they're starting a podcast called The Goosies. But basically the Goose Band is huge. They were on like Burt Kreischer's podcast. He loves them. He's a super diehard fan. But just like people get obsessed with this band. So like you're saying, cult.
Yeah.
Anyways, but it's good. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But they were saying, because she was listening back, there was things where she's like, I don't know if I want to say this, whatever information. Maybe it's like where she lives or whatever. Okay, she wanted like she was like, I was like, okay, here's like the files. Tell us, what timestamps.
Right.
And we ended up doing like 3 hours. And what was funny was she was like, dude, once it gets to like the 3rd hour, it's so good. The rest of the stuff sucks so hard compared to it. Like it wasn't bad, but she's like, once we get into that back half, bro,
you get loose, you get comfortable, you
get goosey, you get acquainted. So, okay, well, let me ask you, because I don't even know where the hell we went or where we're going, but I did want to ask you about the GOAT show. Like, what kind of guests? You had Angela on, right? You had Aaron Day, right?
Angela. I think Angela's probably the biggest guest we've had. She's for anybody who doesn't know, she's the head of the Libertarian Party, and she's really in Trump's inner circle now, which is really interesting to see, and it's controversial because there are a lot of libertarians that feel like she's too MAGA, but. We've had some people from MOA on, like I said, Casey and Kareem, and we're getting Joe D on. I don't know if you know him, but and then we've had we've had a bunch of guests. It's just people. A lot of it is just people we know off Twitter, people that we met. Like I said, we have Flat Earth Dave. I'm not a flat earther, but I think it's interesting, and so we had him on. And it's our most popular episode. That's our most popular episode.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? That's why Flat Earth. That's why it's so popular. Everybody's fascinated by it. So we've had some other guests, but we've had a lot of episodes where it's just the 3 of us doing our thing. It's only now that we're like really, like we're getting to a place where like the show could just be interview shows, but we want to do our own show. We still want to do our own episodes and all that, but yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I mean, for me, it's like I said, I want to go in that direction of actively finding goats in the world, and bringing them on. But at the same time, we also have certain people that we'd love. There's a whole world of people that we'd love to have on that we're now sort of like a hop and a skip away from. It's just a matter of like how do you do the ask? Is it appropriate right now?
Yeah.
And for me, it's also like how comfortable am I? Doing the interview with whoever, because let's just be real. Like Angela is insanely any sort of like her network is incredible. Like really, it's crazy. Like her network now is pretty insane. And
that makes sense.
But it's one of those things where like I don't want to just like hop in and be like, "Yo, Angela," like that. It's like she's working on important things, so I don't want to and I still feel like we're still honing our craft.
Yep.
But there will be a point where I'm like, all right, time to take the gloves off. I'm going to reach out to people. Who are the people that are really, and that's the other thing. It's like, there's people that you want to talk to because I guess you can get the views. And then there's people that you're really interested in talking to, what I'm saying? And I want to balance. I want whoever we talk to be both. I want them to be someone that super cool and interesting that we actually want to talk to just as people. But, it's nice if they also have an audience that, we can grow our audience with their audience or whatever. So, but I also, the other thing is that you can have big people on, but still no guarantee. Like, you look at everybody, how many times has Dave Smith been on Rogan? He went on for years and years and years and years. And only recently has he has his profile really elevated to the level that it should have been for all that time. Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just, with the GOAT show, I try not to, I feel like if I get too caught up in like, oh, we got to have this person on and this is the result that it's going to yield to. I feel like if we do that, if I do that and then it doesn't happen, then, it's going to be, I don't want to bum myself out. I just look at it like, you look at all the other podcasters, they get a lot of people on. They've been doing this shit for years and years and years. They've built their audiences. That's hard won. And we're in the same boat, and this is not the only thing I work on or do. So it's like, cool, this is fun. I enjoy doing it, like talking to people, and then we'll see where it leads. And if we can get to a place where it monetizes and does all this shit, then fantastic. But if not, then it's just going to be fun. And, it's going to be cool.
Amazing for your network. right?
Yeah, and then you're building a network. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. Yeah. So I guess I'm curious if you want to give like a sneak peek. Are there any like guests that you're looking at like the next month, right?
There are guests that we are looking at and we have a connection to, but we haven't reached out to yet. I definitely feel like at some point Sartain's going to come on.
You know? That feels inevitable.
Yeah, that's definitely going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, that could have happened already. It's just that we wanted to get to a certain place with
our. We want to save it. Yeah. Well, I feel like that's kind of how I feel with Rollo. Is like there's too many things that line up good.
Right. Right.
And everyone I've talked to, like when I talked to his drummer, he's like, have Rollo on. And I talked to his drummer's son, he's like, dude, have Rollo on.
Right.
Like, so I like, okay.
Get Rollo on, man, dude. Your channel. When you get him, then you're my contact. I'm gonna.
Yeah, actually.
I mean, to be fair, Sartain's would be technically a contact. I don't know. I also don't want to feel too like, oh, I'm just doing this interview because I want to hopscotch to this person. That's not really what it is. It's like, I would love to interview Rollo because he's an interesting person.
Balance it. You don't want to set up an interview with someone you really don't want to talk to.
Yeah.
No. That was the thing that I was really getting worked up when I took a break last couple months because I really started. I'm in grad school and I really like my schoolwork really started. Mm-hmm. I was doing online kind of like catch up stuff and for like electrical engineering, and then because my undergrad's not in electrical engineering. So they were like, hey, take us some catch-up classes. And then what are you doing?
What was your undergrad and then you're doing electrical engineering as your grad?
Yeah. So my undergrad I went to UCSD and I got an undergrad in a BS in business economics. So lots of stats, lots of Keynesian bullshit, but then lots of good stuff when it came to business because it was a lot of scientific method and doing experiments and running things and looking at startups and looking at stuff. So that was good. Did a bunch of stuff that I don't like. And I realized, whoa, I'm not making money and I'm not getting hired with this degree. So I was like, wait a minute, big brain. I'm a nerd. I love math. I love doing nerd stuff. I was like, what if I go to grad school? And so last second, I applied a bunch of places online. I got in for electrical engineering at Johns Hopkins first. So I did that online. And they were like, take these classes to catch up. And then I got into Georgia Tech. And so then I transferred. Now I'm there. And it's like, very nice. Very nice.
When are you going to Georgia Tech?
Oh, I'm doing it online right now.
Oh, you're doing it online. Oh, interesting. Okay.
I just did an assignment before we hopped.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, but it's
you can do like, okay. I mean, I'm a boomer, man. I don't know what you can do with college education now. So
So I'm looking at like, well, honestly, for a lot of reasons, but looking at like Tesla, SpaceX, some of these things, right? Some of the Elon companies, just because it's like.
Yeah.
I don't think
what you really want to do though.
What'd you say?
I got to ask this. Is that really what you want to do? Is that what's in your heart and soul?
In my soul is have a job where I can do like math and stuff and probably talk to people and do business.
Okay, so that's something you really actually love and want.
I like that. And
do the show.
I think I can put a lot of energy in the show. I wouldn't be surprised. In 10 years, I think the show will be making enough money, right?
Yeah. I mean, Lex Fridman still does his job, right? Whatever it is, he's not just doing his show.
Yeah,
his show probably yields. I don't even know if I wonder about his show. Like, I guess he's getting monetized on YouTube or whatever. But
who?
Lex Fridman.
Oh, Lex Fridman. Oh, he's making a ton of money now. Yeah.
You'll be the rock and roll Lex Fridman.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so, but likewise, a big part of this is like, where do I not want to get like canceled from work, right? And so that's where I'm like. Yeah, a Tesla SpaceX. Well,
if you listen to the Angela McArdle episode, she reveals that there are a lot of ANCAPs around Elon at his companies. At the higher levels. So you're right about Elon. Like, Elon is a meritocracy guy. So, but you got to have your shit together because Elon's a fucking, he's a beast. I've heard stories of people who've worked with him and people who have secondhand knowledge of working with him, and he's a super genius. Like he's able to think macro and micro. Like he can come into a fucking, he can walk up and he'll know as much, if not more, than the engineers, and will like talk with them about like little adjustments on things, and then the next moment he can just immediately switch to something else and talk about big macro things. Like he's like, he is a legitimate genius. So not to discourage you, I say that because I think you're super genius too. So you might fit right in, and you know.
Hey, what you said IQ doesn't necessarily, correlate.
I mean, on some things, it doesn't. Joining a cult, IQ doesn't necessarily correlate.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right.
But, electrical engineering and working and fucking, working on the next, cyber cab or some shit.
Yeah, it's from like robots, automation, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Whatever. Yeah. And that's really exciting because that's where I'm like, the reason it's like that one kind of appealed to me is I found an internship application on like, I think it was like Tesla. Mm-hmm. And it was, all the other ones are like really good at C++ and like doing all this technical stuff. And I'm like, I want to skip the 2 years of technical and like being a mouse doing the engineering and then be like someone working on the business stuff. Cause I like doing numbers. I like finance and growing business. That's why I'm like honestly, here's the reason I'm doing this first instead of making the music and stuff is because the highest leverage thing I can be doing is getting myself big so I can get the Max Martins and these people
Sure.
while I'm on tour to come in and be like, okay, I have these ideas. This is the raw sound. Show me how to make this fit with these other things and like orchestrate in a way that goes insane. And I want to say this theme and this lyric and this message. How do I make it work with this? And how do I get the graphic design and the artwork to go with this? Okay, how do I get that to go with the live show and the merchandise? Like, I don't know all these things. I don't know embroidery. Like, my friend went to fashion school, my best friend, and like he knows all this stuff and I don't. And so like the best I have is go on Pinterest. Like this is off Amazon, right? This though I got a Uniqlo. And so I like, there we go.
Uniqlo is great.
I tried a lot of these.
Favorite. Yeah. Uniqlo and Zara are like you don't really.
Oh my God.
Those other brands are bullshit. Fuck all these other brands. Like you can just wear that shit, you look good. It's really.
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with that. I don't care what any Saudi oil billionaire, trillionaire would say. You can get good shit at Uniqlo and it doesn't cost that much. Uniqlo. Yeah,
well now they're starting.
Stock. That's how much
they put the price up. It's like $50 for like. I was like, because before it used to be, I would think like a t-shirt was like cheaper. It's not. It's not overpriced.
I'm sure some Vietnamese or Bangladeshi child made it, but whatever.
Some Viet child.
It looks good.
Dude, no, hey, you got that drip. You got that Southeast drip. Yo, you got that of the Orient. Anyways.
Listen, man, God, we've been going on a while.
Yeah.
I do got to hop out soon, but I mean, anything else you want to ask me? I don't even know if we talk about rock that much, but it was fun. I had a great time. It was a great show.
No, I mean, you did. We did talk good about rock. I guess, yeah. Let's think. Rock.
It's all good, man. I mean, I'm
no. So let's do. So okay. Oh, the finale they've been waiting for.
Okay.
Mysterious Ways is the greatest pop song ever written. You said you have an essay.
Now? Okay.
You have an essay on it.
Okay, no written essay, but here's what I'll go through it. Okay, so the question is, what makes a good pop song? First, you first have to set the standards, right? And then you must compare a song to those standards for it to get the check. Okay. So, and again, these standards are my own. So you may, watching out there, this is not an objective standard of what makes a good song. It's just what I like in a song. Okay. And I like a lot of songs that don't meet these standards, but I'm just saying, I feel like that song meets the standard. And there are other songs that do too, but okay. First step for any song, for it to be a great pop song, you got to have a great melody. Song's got a great melody. All right, it's got so it's got a great melody. Okay, I feel like you got to have there's a couple parts. Okay, there's the head, there's the heart, there's the hips. Okay, to me, any great pop song's got to have all three. It's got to make you feel something in the soul, in your heart. Okay. Good or bad, doesn't matter, but it's got to make you feel something in your heart. It's got to make you move. So it's got to shake your hips. Okay. It's got to do something, make you move, make you groove, whatever. And I think that it needs to make you think a little bit. The best ones make you think. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion. So that's, I think the song does all that. It's got great rhythm. It's got a cool rhythm. It's very very emotional, evocative song. It's very expressive. So that's the heart. And the lyrics are it talks about it's sexual and spiritual at the same time. If you listen to the lyrics, it makes this interesting idea about like femininity being the spirit of God. So when you listen to the song, okay, so that's one element to the song. And I don't know if I'm explaining myself well because I'm a little tired here, but that's one element to the song. Okay, next thing, like I said, great melody, great rhythm, but unique. Like it's like the Beatles did it a lot, where it feels like you could listen to it as a 5-year-old and it sounds good, but I've listened to that song 100,000 times probably. I mean, I'm not joking. I've listened to that song a lot, and to this day, it's still an amazing melody, you know. And rhythmically, there's a lot of like the rhythm it's got all these elements of things that you kind of heard, but I really haven't heard other song. If another song used that same rhythm, you'd be like, oh, that's kind of like the Mysterious Ways thing, right? And then the texture of the song is unique entirely. There's no other song that really has matched the sonic texture of that song. I really mean that. Like, and if anybody else tried to do it, it would come across as a secondhand, like they couldn't do it. And a lot of that's like the guitars, like, and Edge is known for like the delay and all that shit, but that's not what the song. Those guitars are not like delay guitars. They're like, he had a whole unique sound to it that is like its own document. So you have a song that has all these elements of like what a great pop song is, but it doesn't sound like any other pop song. And lyrically, it has these like lyrics that feel like kind of childish, like obla, you know, obla di obla day type lyrics. But when you really look at the lyrics, it's like, oh, there's like a lot of sophistication in what's being said here. You know what I'm saying? Then there's just practical shit. The mixing on it is unbelievable. Flood did the mixing. He mixed like all kinds of shit, downward spiral, all the shit. Like the mix on it is like unbelievable. And then I call it like familiar and fresh, or you know, the familiar and strange. It's strange yet familiar. I think Talking Heads did that a lot, in my opinion. Like you kind of hear Talking Heads, like it's a little bit weird, but it's catchy and it's like it feels, you know what I'm saying? So that song does the same thing. Like it's kind of a weird song if you really think about like what you're hearing and what it's been talking about and what all this shit. Like it's kind of a weird song. Like it's not, you know, but then, you know, it has all these like, I don't know what it is, but it has enough familiarity that it's like it's a great song. It's a you know, you're humming it, you know, the hummability factor is high, you know, after you hear it. So I don't know, maybe I'm a boomer. Maybe none of y'all feel this way. Maybe Gen Z's over it. You like noise, screamo, anti-melody, anti-rhythm. I don't know, but I'm just saying like it balances all that shit perfectly. You know, great performances. The vocal is fucking awesome. Probably Bono's best vocal. You know, yeah. I mean, it feels real, and it's like it's electronic, and at the same time, it feels real. You know, it doesn't feel like an electronic song. It just crosses all these different things, man. It's a weird amalgamation, and somehow it works. Like it just, you know, yeah. That's the song I play for people who've never heard U2 before. I'd be like, listen to this song. If you like this song, you're gonna like U2. You know. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I feel like we should do a podcast about rock or like music or something. It's funny. We talked so much about
I mean, like you can cut it all out if you want. If you want to edit all that shit out and just have a 30-minute episode, then
okay. It'd be like 2. It'd be that. It'd just be that. It'd just be like it's just a clip. No, but dude, that's you know what? That's funny because I think so much of the problems with rock right now is all the other shit we discussed.
Right.
It's you were talking about the record labels and the thing, right? And you 10 of them and one of them, and they're these crazy fucking rock stars, and it's like. That's the thing in a society where it was like okay, you're gonna make a bunch of money. There's disproportionate advantage to doing the number one most popular genre. Yeah, if you make that and sign the band, you're gonna make a ton of money because there's no one else doing it. Just make good rock. all the guys from the 90s who made the records and mixed them and engineered like Flood, all these people, they're still here. Or most of the guys are still here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but it was unpalatable. It didn't fit in. It just wasn't going to work with what the 2010s were and the early 2020s, right? It didn't fit in. I don't think it fit. It needed to conform with, the old Twitter, this kind of whole homogenized society. And we're trying to move to this floofy soy people.
I know we've been talking for a couple hours now, but there's one more thing I think about rock and why it's not pushed. It's too masculine.
Boom.
Old school Zeppelin style, whatever, like heavy rock shit, that hard rock shit like that, too masculine. And there's this whole thing about toxic masculinity, and also all those guys were toxically masculine. I mean, they really were toxic. To be fair, they were actually genuinely toxically masculine. Like, you listen to "It's So Easy" by Guns N' Roses, you're like, yeah, this is like, this dude is a like, Axl in that song is a fucking scumbag. Like, but it's fun. Like, it's like there's like, I like toxic masculinity in a fun way. You know what I'm saying? I don't appreciate it in reality, but I'm just saying, like, it's like that's why, like, you don't see a lot of action movies with like just a badass action hero. It's too masculine and toxic masculinity and all this shit. And it's
gynocentrism, baby. Here's the thing, though: they forget that women like hot guys. And what is a hot guy? What is alpha? Alpha seed, beta need. They want the guy who's viscerally masculine, who's better than you, who is the hero, who is a monomyth, who is above all. He is Arnold in Commando. Unrealistic biceps, unpractical level of muscularity, and probably like diuretics and other like just drugs he's on. It doesn't make you a better fighter. It doesn't make you better as a partner or for even like trying to get reproductive organs. It's just masculine for the sake of being masculine, and that's why it's effective and people like it. Like, I went to this film festival here. My friend who she did a couple of our music videos. She's really good. She's better at what she does than I am what I do. But we went to this film festival, and she was the only one who realized, hey, if you put attractive people in the thing instead of hard to look at people, people like it more. The guy was jacked like me. You don't know, but I'm jacked. But I'm also like 5'7", which is one standard deviation below, right? In terms of height. But he was me, but he was he was like 6 foot and jacked and handsome, and you know what I mean? And you were just like, oh my God, this guy looks like a movie star. This guy looks like a guy in a movie that you watch. And it's the same thing with the rock stars, right? Look at Sting, look at all of these people. They run 18,000 miles a day. They're jacked. They lift weights. They're toxic. They're masculine.
It's because there are a lot of like ripped dudes that still act like White Knight.
Oh, yeah. You can't guarantee everything, but it's the bucket of things that you could say are masculine, right? And it's exactly what you're saying. It's it's not even toxic. It's just the masculinity part. So you got rid of all the masculinity, the toxic included, right? And so I think
the toxic part is a part of rock and roll, man. There's a toxic element to rock and roll. Like Johnny Rotten, literally, his freaking name is Johnny Rotten. Sid Vicious, like
they're heels. They're heels that you root for. They're the bad guy. They're the Undertaker. They're
bad boys. They're rebels.
They're bad boys.
Yeah. There's a real rebellious streak is in rock and roll. I mean, fuck, if Eric Clapton is the biggest rock and roll bad boy in what's his name, Morrissey.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Just because they were like, hey, we're Brits and we're not down with this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? And then guess what? They pariahs. But I mean, they're the ones saying that. I think Ronnie Radke's another one that's sort of like, he's like carrying the flame in my opinion. Like he's a fucking rock star. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, like rock stars used to say really crazy shit. Like, I mean, golly, man, there's some wild, some wild shit. I'm not saying they were that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know, rock and roll is about expression and saying fuck you to the man. I don't know. I just feel like it got like co-opted by all this like progressive stuff.
Definitely. Well, it's like, do you think it's coming back?
I think so, but I don't know. I mean, It's hard because the corporate element is I think it'll come back, but it won't come back from the corporate side. It's going to come back from something that just is a phenomenon online, and somebody or a group that's like really writing great songs, and they're tapping into something. But it's going to tap into something new. I don't think it's this idea that like old school rock and roll is going to make a comeback. I feel like that we've seen that already. Like, I mean, the White Stripes. Don't get me wrong, I like Jack White and White Stripes, but we've already seen that. Like, I think what needs to happen is there needs to be a new evolution where it's like, okay, it's that kind of. I get a comparison. I think would be maybe like I think about Mastodon. Like when Mastodon came out, like they were able to take the sort of Slipknot, kind of brute, new wavy sounding kind of rock that was happening, but then they married it to like really intricate kind of 80s and 90s, Metallica, Slayer, like intricate, and then they like added, and then prog rock. So I think what's going to happen is like it's going to be all these like disparate genres. That it's usually what happens. Like these disparate genres, you have a new generation of kids who grew up on all that shit, and the kids that synthesized it the most into its purest form, they're going to make something new that's dope. The question is like, is it going to get support without like some corporate bullshit where they got to like kowtow, So I don't know. I mean, I've been waiting for it. It hasn't really happened. I do wonder if there's just too many niches now. Like everything's so niched out that like you can't have something that sweeps the culture, but unless you have some context for it, like what's his name? Oliver Anthony or whatever that guy is, like, he rode the whole like MAGA community.
Oh, yeah.
And it was kind of like, it's like he's not really doing anything that sounds new or fresh, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? He's just speaking to an audience that, was wanting to hear something like that. So I don't know, man. It's like, I think all the really interesting music really isn't being promoted. But I mean, there's a lot of great bands. So I'll send you a bunch of great bands, man, if you want to.
Send me.
Yeah. There's some really incredible bands out there.
Yeah.
I sent you this one just now. These guys called, what are they called? They're called, this album, it's instrumental, so that a lot of people don't like instrumental rock, but Heavy Trip. I just sent that to you on Spotify.
Heavy Trip?
Heavy Trip.
Okay.
Heavy Trip on Spotify. It's they just put out an EP called Liquid Planet, but dude, that EP is fucking killer, dude. Like riffs.
No way.
Yeah, riffs and lick. Yeah.
So they're instrumental. They're instrumental.
But the jams are. It's Heavy Trip, like the name says it all, man. It's like heavy, long jams that are good though. Like they're really good. Like so.
What you just said, about this whole thing, like coming through corporate and all this stuff. What I kind of think is, so if there is Heavy Trip, there are these bands. Why the hell is Foo Fighters or any of these bigger acts? I guess Foo Fighters is very kind of tame.
That's true. Why the fuck aren't these guys like promoting really great new acts?
Why? And I've seen bands do that, and they bring someone, but they bring the most like, this is like chic. It's like bullshit. We're all girls. Yeah. There's a big thing too where it's like, look, it's girls doing rock, and it's just like there's nothing wrong with that, but it's like just because they're girls doesn't mean when you bring them out that you've tightened up their set list. Instead, their songs are still kind of amateurish.
I agree, man. There's a lot of bands that are. You know what it is that.
Well, I'm saying if you do bring someone out, they help them. Don't embarrass them.
I'll tell you what it is.
Don't embarrass people.
No, I'll tell you what it is.
What do you think?
The big bands, the ones that still get the support, like Coldplay or Foo Fighters, there's not many of them, but the big bands that get the big support, their managers are the ones that are kind of pushing things, and they want to push the things that they have found or the things that are in their circles. A lot of them are living in like LA, and so when they go out and see these, like, I'm just being honest with you, a lot of LA bands are fucking like they're just like I don't know, it's kind of bullshitty. Like it's like oh, like it's got a hot chick, and it's like and then they I don't know, it doesn't feel very I don't know. I don't want to say that because I love LA, and I'm sure there are a lot of LA bands that are great. I don't mean all the LA bands. I just think it just seems like the ones that they find. It's the corporate thing. It's like, oh, we can package this. We can sell this. This is something we can package and sell. So that's what's going to open up for the Foo Fighters. That's what's going to open up for Jane's Addiction or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
It's the manager. I think you're right. I think you're right. You're right.
It's the corporate. It's the record company or Ticketmaster,
industry,
whatever.
They're too much. It's I think the same thing that happened in comedy. I think it's the exact same thing. You're saying it's going to rise.
Yeah, it's industry. It's not Dave Grohl hearing something and going, "Holy shit, these guys are fucking badass."
Yeah.
Hey, manager, this is who we want to open up for us. This band is killer, and nobody knows who they are, but they're going to. I don't think it's like that. I think it's just we're Foo Fighters. We're doing all of our shit, you know. I mean, a lot of different things.
Yeah.
But we're out here just doing our thing, touring the world, rocking, and we
rock and rolling all night, if you know what I mean.
Oh, our manager likes this band. Okay, cool. Yeah, they're pretty cool. They sound good. Also, I think it's a little bit of intimidation. You kind of like. I mean, I'm not this way. If I was in a big rock band, I'd be like, I want to find people better than me because it'll make me it'll kick the shit out.
Yeah.
I get my shit together. We suck compared to this band. That's what you want to find. Like, are bands that are like, I was hearing that. I think Dave Navarro was talking about Jane's Addiction, that like when they did the first Lola tour, they had 9 Inch Nails, and they were just like, holy shit. And then, but you know, Trent says the same thing about Jane's Addiction. He was like, holy shit, Jane's Addiction was like amazing. You know, so I feel like that's what I would want as a band. It's like I want an opening act that I'm scared of. Like that's what it used to be. Like Ozzy toured with fucking Metallica in '83. Bro, first of all, that would have been. Have you seen old 1983 videotape footage of Metallica? Like
I've seen some.
Like you make fun of Metallica and Lars and they talk all the shit about Metallica. Bro, watch a video of them in like 83, 84, 85 on the Master of Puppets tour when with like shitty VHS, like somebody's in the crowd filming it. And it's like, bro, they were humble. I mean, it's like, it's tragic that they don't have official. I mean, I guess they got the Russia concert, but like that tour, man, is unbelievable. Like just demolishing the entire fucking arena. Like it's unbelievable. You know, so him and Ozzy, but like I think Ozzy said that. I think he was like, "Holy shit!" Like we going after Metallica, and it was like it's tough. Like you're playing after Metallica, dude. Like so, I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying. Like I feel like that's what it should be. Is like I'll be honest. The fact that Teenage Wrist is not a band that people know about is mind-boggling to me. Like their songs are good. They have like a retro element of like grunge and shit, but it's not that. Like, yeah, like it's just King Buffalo, you know, King Buffalo's amazing. Like they should be on tour with fucking Queens of the Stone Age. Like they're incredible, but like nobody knows who they are. And then like, I mean, there's so many, this band, I'll tell you this is my favorite new thing of the last 5 years is, this band called Weed Pecker. I know the terrible name. I don't think it's terrible, but you know, when you hear it for the first time, you're like Weed Pecker, what the hell is that? Dude, they are awesome. And they're like this heavy psychedelic rock fucking band that like makes these epic tracks and all this shit. And like if you had to hear once, I think the song I would say from them to listen to if you want to hear, let me see, what's the name of it? I think it's Liquid Sky. I think that's the name of it. Let me see. Yeah, Liquid Sky. Put that track on. These guys, I mean, From Mars to Mercury is great, but like Liquid Sky, like if that's your first taste of these guys, put that on. Dude, these guys are like fucking, these guys are on the level of like Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, fucking, I'm serious. Like they're a serious rock band, but they're out in Poland. I mean, if it were me and I'm Foo Fighters, I'm like, fucking get these guys to open up for us. Or if I'm like Queens of the Stone Age, I'm like, dude, these guys need to open up for us. These guys are incredible. So
it's anyway. The managers. It's Poland Sky, not Poland Sky.
That's just my guess. My guess is that it's industry, it's managers.
You think? Yeah, no, I think you're right because that's the
label. The label has these acts that they have, and they want to push those acts, right? So that's kind of how it works. It's like you have to be in the label system, and then that's how you get opening for Foo Fighters or whatever, you know?
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck that, dude. Yeah. Yeah, dude. Oh my God. I'm just.
And also, the other thing to consider is that the label system is not just like putting out music; it's Ticketmaster. You know,
it's the whole
Nation, Ticketmaster. Yeah. So that's the other part of it. It's an
industrial complex. It's a whole thing.
Right.
All the incentives. It's a bundle of incentives. 15 miles deep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But then you're getting these festivals, these rock festivals. And again, I'm kind of like, if you're putting on a rock festival, like, don't you have somebody who's like listening to a ton of fucking music, finding like really incredible, because there is a lot, man. I'll send you a whole playlist.
It's so hard to find though, because it's like 500,000 songs get uploaded to Spotify a day. Like I tried doing it. Like I looked at my band Black Licorice.
I'll send you my playlist. I'm constantly listening to new rock.
Dude, thank you. Dude, like I am trying so hard. So I'm praying to God, Weed Pecker or even like 5% as good as you're saying.
Bro, they are incredible.
If they are,
if you don't like Weed Pecker, Connor, I'm gonna be like a little bit like something wrong here.
Yeah. I feel you. But dude, that's where I'm just like, but no, I think you're right. It's probably the managers. And so even then, it's like, actually, I don't give a fuck about having Foo Fighters on or the Black Keys on or whoever, right?
Sure.
I want to get to the manager so I can ask them, why is no one opening for you? Why don't you have anyone good opening for you? How's this happening? Why is this? You realize if you bring out really good people, you'll go viral. And then everyone's going to come to your show.
Hey, man, maybe what the show needs to be is you interview these smaller bands that are really great.
Well, that's what I'm working on. That's what I'm working on. But I need to have someone who's the manager for a big band that I can say, hey, look at this band I just interviewed yesterday. You should have them open. Right, because right now I've got none of those, so I should start getting those connections with those people. Use as
maybe I don't know. Maybe the show has sort of a John Peel type of thing where every so often you demonetize the episode, but you play music that you think is dope, and then you don't get the money for it, but at least you're exposing the bands, and then that's what you leverage to be able to grow the channel or whatever. I don't know. That might be one way to go with it. Yeah,
it's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea, but I think what you're right, because I'm at the end of the day, I'm trying to get I've thought
about it. If I wasn't doing the GOAT show, I've thought about that before. Like maybe it's just reviewing music that you really love that is nobody's really heard before, and you just demonetize the channel and you find your money somewhere else. But if you're doing it, I ain't gonna do it.
So, no, exactly. Yeah. We'll just put the energy in. I don't steal from here. You can just still come on and then get all the views and then you know what I mean? And you can send me all the music. I do all the, getting the slings and arrows.
I'll send you. I'll put together. I'll add some tracks to a playlist, and I already have one, but there's some new music that I haven't added yet.
Dude, send it over.
It's a sample platter of great bands. Yeah.
This is why you're on. This is why you're on, because this is the whole point of this whole thing is to figure out what is going wrong here and how do I fix it.
I honestly think with you, dude. Honestly, with you, I think it's just. And I think it's the same with us with the GOAT show. We just got to make a lot of content and just grind it out. That's it. And then maybe what happens is at some point, it's a success by a million cuts.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Literal editing cuts. It's like at some point the culture swings back towards rock and roll, and guess where you are? You're one of the rock and roll guys.
And you know what I'm saying? You said it best. You said it best. Ron Paul doing it for like 40 years, nothing happening. Now, you know what I mean? All this stuff.
70 years with Ron Paul.
70 years. No, but I mean,
years if you think about like when he first learned about shit.
Well, even you're making a good point. Talk about all these guys. No one's paying attention, but then the instant it's their moment, I've been here for a decade. I've been doing this, and now you're the guy.
I mean, to be fair, someone like I think Elon's kind of the right way to look at it. He went through all the trials and tribulations. He put everything on the line, but he did play the game. He was playing the game politically for a while. He did get some benefits, some loans. Like, he was playing the game. So you can do it both ways. It's not like you have to be true to the game forever and live in squalor. And then, you're like Van Gogh, your shit's popular after you're dead. Like, you can play the game, but I think it's challenging to maintain the authenticity when you play the game. That's the one smartest thing Elon did was in buying X is that he's able to convey a side of himself that is extremely authentic. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? He didn't go corporate with X. He fucking says what he thinks and you can take it or leave it. You know what I'm saying? But he owns X.
Exactly. Well, tell me what you think with the GOAT show, because for me, I'm thinking it's like you find the sponsors who understand that the value of the show is that it's raw and it's unfiltered and it's genuinely what I think. And that authenticity in it, it's not going to have like total brand scrubby. But if even like, let's say you're Liquid Death, or let's say you're an energy company. There is an energy drink company who is comfortable with taking whatever the downside possible is, because the upside of this is the rock show with Conor O'Farrell. This is the rock show. This is, but not even yet, but just like it's we have the flag planted. We have the relationship built. We want the credibility. We want to say we were at the first Nirvana show. Look at our shirt. That's what the ads on the video does, right? And so that's kind of the play. That's kind of what I see the real true value outside of just raw views. Like I was talking, so I had on Ralph Sutton. All right, so you know Legion of Skanks, right? So Dave Smith's podcast, Legion of Skanks. How familiar are you with Legion of Skanks?
I've watched a couple episodes. It's funny.
So there's Big J, Louis J. Gomez, Dave Smith. Louis J. Gomez has a company called Gas Digital Network with Ralph Sutton and Louis J. Gomez. Okay. Guess who I had on like 2 episodes ago? Ralph Sutton. What did I talk to him about? Their main business outside of throwing on Skankfest, the biggest comedy festival in the world, is the podcast ad sales thing. And so I asked him, how much views do I need to do? How many ads do I need to run? How much money do I need to make? When can this start being a thing? Because if this can start being a thing in a year from now, oh my God, hold your butts. I'm putting all the money back into this, and we're going to have 18,000 episodes a day, and we're bringing back rock, and it's happening. I'm having all the bands on. They're playing in the studio. I don't care. I don't care. I'm going to get a castle. We're going to have them live in the castle. We're going to be constantly filming, doing things, reality TV. It's going to be huge. Merchandise. They make all the money. I don't even need to make that much money because the ads from the podcast make enough. My cut. Like, we're going to make it all look like a joke. No one's doing it. No one's doing the Elon Musk of this thing. Anyways, that's the long term. But I talked to Ralph Sutton. I got him on. And I asked him, I was like, how many? And he was saying, if you get 20K views twice a week, basically the numbers worked out. You can make anywhere from 100 to 200K. I can give you the breakdown on how many ads and what you sell them for and how long they are.
It's not out already, or is it out already?
Oh, that's out. That's out.
Okay, I need to check that out.
That's out. I did the first bit to do the Michael Sartain stuff where I was like, tell me about your upbringing, and I really want to hear about you, and oh boy, I'm breaking rapport. But then by like halfway through, I was like, okay, I've only got this guy for 45 minutes, whatever. I'm like, I want to get this info. And I was like, literally give me exactly what you see. Exactly. If it's 1 hour, you can, do whatever it was.
Check it out. Yeah. It sounds awesome.
Yeah. So I ran the numbers separately, but basically you can get 3 ads at $500 a piece for a minute, right? Okay. If you have 20K views in an hour long episode, he was saying 3 is the max you'd want to do. And so also, likewise, you can get $25 an ad like that with 20K views for 15 seconds. So if you do 4 15-second ads in place of every minute-long ad, you get $1,000 for a minute of ads instead of 500, right? And so times 3 ads an episode, that's $3,000 an episode, right? Times twice a week, or times 8 for the whole month, right? So 3 times, I don't know. I'm like brain farting at this point. But the whole, or it's like whatever, 1,600 or 16. No, it's like 16,000. I think. I don't know. It's 24,000 times 12. I don't know. Okay, my brain's pooping out on me. But the whole point was it works. The numbers work, and so even if before that point, if you're running ads, so here's the thing: if the goal is 20,000, right? I was figuring out, and so I wanted to talk with the Goat Show guys, and like I want to hear your strat on this because I'm realizing on Instagram it seems like it might top off at a certain point just because Instagram just like doesn't shadow ban you, but they don't show it to all of your followers, right? They only show it to the first like 100, and then if it performs well, another 200, and then it's exponential how it tweets it out. So what I found is if I get like a big guest and they co-post, the most you'll get is half of their followers, and that turns into views, right? Mm-hmm. But it's not always. And so that's where I'm excited to see if I get Rolo on and we do X and he reposts the episode or posts it. If it gets just from the exposure, it says, 20,000 views. That's that, right? And so in TikTok, I see if I put hashtags on, I get 600 to 700 views. Okay. I only need to get to 20. Right? Spotify, I get barely any, but if it's a good thumbnail on YouTube, I can get at least like 500, 600, right? Instagram, I usually get about at least like 1,000, 2,000, and that's not co-posting with a guest, right? And so it's just thinking about all these things. How can I do this, right? And how can I get to the 20K number? Because here's the thing. That's the number he said where it makes sense that advertisers will take you seriously. But I think that was him trying to get you to go use his company below that point and trying to, sell his own, offer and say, oh, you can't do without us. You got to go with us. Right.
Right.
But the whole thing is, it's kind of seeing it like, okay, if you can get to 5K an episode, here's what it is. Yeah, exactly. If you can do, let's say, 1/3 of the 20K. So let's say, oh my God, my brain is really going. 6,000. I don't know. 6,000.
Listen.
Okay,
you're losing me.
I'll simplify it. Basically, I was doing the math that 20K twice a week, an hour long episode is like 100K a year, or 200K if you double the ads by making them shorter. And selling, instead of having 4 or 3 advertisers an episode, you have 12.
But you got to hit a certain number of subscribers and all. That's why, like, we've thought about it, and we have people that we know that could be sponsors and all that kind of shit. But at the end of the day, it's like, how many subscribers do you have? Like, what benefit is it? I mean, with the episodes where we interview MMA people, we have like our affiliate code, but that's really not. I mean, we don't really push or promote it, because it's just like, okay, if we happen to get something, great. I'm happy just to promote Men of Action, because I think it's a good program. But at the end of the day, it's like, kind of thinking about any of that shit right now is not, it's like not a good use of our time. It's like, I mean, it's good to have those goals. It's good to say, okay, like, this is the number we need to hit, or this is how many views we need to get, or whatever. And it's good to know that knowledge. But at the end of the day, it's like, none of that shit fucking matters if you're not producing content, and you're not getting guests, and you're not doing, you got to start doing the first whatever steps, and fuck all that other shit until you get that done. So, but it's good to know that, like, okay, here's like kind of the numbers and the goals that we should be striving for. But I also feel like at the same time, if I get too caught up in like trying to hit the numbers and trying to do all this shit, then I get all bummed out, and like, and that becomes an impediment to wanting to do the show. It's like, to me, I just want to do the show because I like doing the show. I like talking to people. I want to find knowledge and interview people that I think are interesting, that can, help me, learn something. And then that's it. Like, start there. And the goal is like, make the shit, like, make your long forms, figure out how to do mediums, do the shorts. Like, that's why, like, because we've had these discussions like, oh, do we go get sponsored now? Like, why? We have 180 people on YouTube. What are they? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, we have a bigger audience on, I mean, but even on X, we have like 800 people. And then on something like that. And, our biggest is Drip, which is, we have like 30K. Drip's a new kind of content creator platform. I'll share it with you, man. It's cool. You should get on it. You might like it a lot. Cool. But it's just a content creator platform. You can drop all kinds of content on it, but it's more crypto based. So like, people like mint the actual content into their Solana wallet.
Really?
Yeah. And then you kind of earn from there. It's a big thing. I'd have to sit down with you separately and show you, but I can send all that to you, man. But yeah, it's cool. It's a cool platform. So we, of any platform we have, that's the one we make the most money from. So, but yeah. So I gotta hop off, man. I'm sorry. We've been going for 3 hours. It's great though. This fucking fun. I love it. Yeah.
Well, dude, thank you. I appreciate it. Total pleasure. Yeah. And like, I mean, that's the thing. Genuinely a conversation where I'm like, this is, you kind of were saying with the melody in Mysterious Ways. It's like, it's like, it's non-fungible, pretty much, right? Like, you can't
right, you can't replicate it. Yeah,
but I feel like this was a friggin' non-fungible conversation.
Non-fungible music, yeah.
Dude, thank you. Yeah, well, where can the people find you? Tell them where to go.
Any platform, just do @TheGoatShowPod. So Twitter, Instagram, and then I think on YouTube as well. Obviously, I'm assuming this is going to go on YouTube, so you can.
They'll be everywhere.
Yeah, I can send you all the info. Maybe put in the show notes or something.
Yeah, it'll be in the show notes. Okay, well, see you soon. We didn't even touch that.
Oh shit, that's a whole other thing, whole other can of worms. And my brother would be better to talk about that actually.
We'll get him on.
Yeah.
Maybe. When I get my brother on, we'll have a four.
Poor brother.
Sweet. Well, okay, everyone. Thank you for watching. Cue outro.